My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system, which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. It is 9:02 a.m. and if you'll recall my time, you have the city of Ontario that's group stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments at 9:02 a.m. And I am not at that apartment complex in Ontario, and I also documented my travel from that location and the confirmed movement of the light source over me to a different location, which is in Hesperia, is what is captured on video. What I'm not only capturing is the impossible light activity on the floor and the hallway on the 3rd floor, which is a threat. You saw the impossible light activity that's vacillating as I'm capturing the group stalker that was housekeeping on the 3rd floor yesterday, which is never the product of sunlight, okay? And I'm also subject to a threat in here. The people that are conversing are monitoring. She's monitoring. She's sitting in here while impossible light activity was moving across the wall. That's a demon, okay? And the employees are group stalking with the patrons, and they're all demons alike. I want you to pay attention to something here. This is impossible light activity on the floor, and this is impossible light activity on the ceiling. I can walk through it up here. That's not sunlight. This is P.O.C. for you to be covered in, coated in engineer light. They're all monitoring you. There are a bunch of demons group stalking, sitting around the food where they're all tracking your steps and knowing that you're coming. Walking in is crossing path. This isn't even sunlight. Understand how facilitating venues are group stalking as a population. And this is also nowhere near where the city of Ontario, that's the municipality, we're group stalking with impunity. All right, the African American, Dante, Dante's going to federal prison. Dante also crossed path again when I was on Vine Street, documenting the people of the state who are pacing under a fake sun that's not possibly within the natural environment, never causing that light activity inside there, and certainly not at any position where it's going to be over Woodside Senior Apartments, creating any of that light that's inside of Tracy Banks' apartment. All right? Recognize the population. There are a bunch of sex offenders also obsessed with my genitalia, where you can never hear this traffic because you can hear me speaking now, and if it's so loud you can hear it inside of the hotel room, well, then you wouldn't be able to hear me speaking right now. This is the P.O.C. These are the demons who are group stalking you. And this is the movement of a fake sun, the whole fake universe, okay? Where demon possessed people, including the state, is group stalking. Rodas, that's a commercial vehicle. Impossible lights moving across that building. MARIPOSA is group stalking. That's why you see that demon right in relevant. That's why impossible lights moving across the building, okay? This is the third party, and I'm gonna prosecute the position engaged in 24-hour surveillance. That's Title 18 that he's also engaging in. That's a demon right in front of your face. 12011. That's the address of MARIPOSA Tire and Auto, and I'm going to prosecute them. They're engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring and state surveillance. And he's group stalking while impossible light activity moves across the building that he's standing at. They're not separate from it. In the same way, impossible light activity and a fake sun over 12,000 MARIPOSA Road, that means 12,000 MARIPOSA Road, La Quinta, is a group stalker. And so is the municipality, where the sun is not stationary over Woodside Senior Apartments at 9:03 a.m. when I was documenting the P.O.C. as the municipality came to engage in that criminal pattern of conduct with Tracy Banks. Okay? License plate 7ZA0340. These are the people of the state who are group stalking, never driving under the sun and engineer light moving across the building. That is a textbook P.O.C. of terrorism and professed group stalkers. And the state of California is going to be prosecuted for it. And everybody that's at this hotel is going to federal prison. Do not forget what I documented yesterday. The demons are having a field day, pacing all around, stalking in relevant position, because that's what this is. This is a demon, by the way. This is a mentally ill person who knows everything that I'm stating. And they're also engaging in C727A1. Turning the signal on when they're not turning is light activity. That demon knows that I was reading his license plate. Don't forget what these demons are doing. While there's earthquakes inside of my hotel room, having a good time terrorizing an American citizen. 9MIR259, federal prison. Okay? Somebody touting about their daughter being a Marine, where their mother, their father is a freaking demon. They're psychopaths and they're sex offenders. I don't know what the state of their daughter is, but this one is a third-party group stalker. 8MHP295, 9EQS235, and I surmise that these are employees. They're going to federal prison. While you're working under a fake sun, you're going to federal prison. While you're maintaining presence at an environment where they're poisoning me inside of the hotel room, they're engaged in routine terrorism and harassment as an entity because they're hostile and fearful of the evidence. And a sane person would cease to engage in crime so that they don't spend the rest of their life in federal prison. The demon-possessed, the terrorists in California, engage in more of it. And that is in furtherance of the conspiracy. Let me get 25136T3. That towing company, he's going to federal prison, all right? And I'm going to prosecute this business. This little mom and pop business is not even going to survive federal prosecution. The entity is engaging in this conduct, and when the entity is aware of what it is that you're documenting about them, they engage in more of that conduct. All right, the intent to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, the intent to engage in harassment and terrorism, as I'm documenting on podcast, as I'm documenting in images, as I'm showing you the faces of Cindy and the rest of the demon-possessed housekeeping, that has nothing to do with the earthquakes occurring inside of the hotel, and the evidence that I am subject to what is a demonic environment, such as earthquakes, which are not naturally occurring and are isolated to my location, is the presence of the fake sun, because this is a scientific impossibility. This is the demonic, and so is the impossible light activity, which is also an established fact. Okay, La Quinta Inn and Suites, they are going to be prosecuted for state terrorism, and they're profiting while they're engaged in the state's conspiracy to murder and kidnap an American citizen, and they do so with impunity and high malice. All right, they're violent sex offenders keeping a woman under surveillance, and the entity is keeping a fake son here. An outright departure from the natural environment that the entity can't even reasonably contend. But you are clearly engaging in what is an admission to be a group stalker with a fake sun. The environment is surrounding the venue where I'm at. This is, again, the idiots that are stalking under a fake sun. All right, this is the concession that the entity is necessarily making, because this is the pattern of conduct, and the entity was never prepared for it to be exposed. And so you're looking at what is the ongoing pattern of conduct no matter where I'm going, and there is no deviating from it. Satan didn't make any other plan to engage in what was a secret system, and the secret is exposed, and there is no other way for them to engage in it. That's why they haven't deviated from what is a pattern of conduct, clearly not a natural environment that surrounds, which is the intent for that population in that environment to group stalk you. That is, they are intentionally together acting with the state who wants to murder or kidnap you. Okay, that's a very high threat posed by your own government. And this is in the United States. It is currently 9:08 a.m. where I am documenting the defiance and the audacity of the municipality to come in my face and threaten my life at Woodside Senior Apartments. And that's why this is exactly what I was documenting. The demon Paul Leon is fully aware of what not only the municipality is engaging in, but the corrupt airport that demon sitting on that same corrupt government body, the Ontario City Council, is aware that Alan D. Wapner is engaging in, while commercial airlines are using their planes to group stalk over the Woodside Senior Apartments. And as I also traveled in Ontario, where there's no Terminal 2 or Terminal 4, where they're taking off from at that low elevation over the shopping center, while I'm at the Chase Bank, over the housing community, the facilitating venues on F Street where they're hovering over the houses, then making a U-turn as those demons know that I'm recording them on video, where they are clearly stalking in incredible manners such as commercial planes. It is as incredible as stalking in helicopters, which is also an established fact. The City of Ontario, Paul Leon, a demon, by the way, and a corrupt government actor. And every word that I speak is not merely name-calling or unsubstantiated information. I'm not interested in these things. I'm exposing what is public corruption, and I'm exposing those who serve Satan. They're demon-possessed. That's why this system is occurring on their watch. They know about it, they're facilitating it, and it's thriving under their corrupt leadership. I'm referencing Alan D. Wapner. I'm referencing Paul Leon. I'm referencing the municipality that is the City of Ontario, where that demon is the mayor of the City of Ontario, where the municipality workers are coming and engaging in an inspection under the fake sun and engineered light while the demons are stalking with commercial planes. All manner of psychotic criminal conduct that is highly malicious, but as you see, very unintelligent. And those that are the idiots, the little minion workers who are the people of the state, varying in levels of degree, income, education, backgrounds, these are the idiots stalking under the fake sun that are causing each other, the implosion of the pattern of conduct, the prosecution of the state of California as they make highly unintelligent statements. It's going to be used against all of them. They engage in conduct that's going to be held against all of them, and they're going to be prosecuted as one. P.O.C, this is crossing path. Going to federal prison as well. Impossible light activity while they drive by. Yeah, you're going to federal prison. License plate 7NOM659, and he puts his window down to monitor even more. That's the fake son. That's the intent to engage a group stalking me. 7NOM659, him and the female sitting in the passenger seat are both violent sex offenders, and that's exactly how federal law is going to label them. That's justice. Coming behind me is crossing path, pacing. EFZ313, an impossible light activity, not the product of sun, certainly not while the sun is at Woodside Senior Apartments. That's the intent of a population to group stalk you. From Montana, coming into California, that's federal prison, by the way. EFZ313, that is impunity that the state relies on. Everything is exposing what the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department is engaging in. The likes of such mentally ill psychopaths, group stalking a stranger, acting in furtherance of a conspiracy to murder and kidnap someone for no legitimate purpose, and they intentionally and knowingly do so. That's why the environment is here. That's why impossible light activity, which is demonic, it's not even naturally occurring, is P.O.C. All right, it is currently, let me see, this is a vendor, a third party, 4504383. This is called surveillance. Just sitting in real time. So you need to understand that this is an unofficial San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department actor. Okay, and this one, cellulite ridden. This is the third party, group stalking. What's your name? Oh, did I say your name? No. Okay, that's a third party that's focused on you in relevant position, group stalking with a communication device. A highly passive aggressive demon who knows exactly what I just said about her cellulite. Okay, that's what that's about. This is an entity that's engaged in group stalking, and here's the fake son while you're smoking a cigarette in relevant position. Acting as though you're mistaken about, oh, what did you just say? They're stalking with activity. She knows exactly what I just said. That's a psychopath. That's Title 18, and they're all going to federal prison, okay? It is currently, by the way, 9:12 a.m. I'm going to document the entity because they're all going to federal prison. They're all part of the ongoing pattern of conduct as I'm documenting it inside of my hotel room. They sit in relevant position with impunity. She's going to federal prison. That does not deter the demon-possessed, the mentally ill who are engaged in this conduct. And who are they doing it for? The state of California, okay? It is currently, again, 913, do not forget, I've already documented the name of the demon that's calling themselves a mayor of HESPERIA. I've already documented this corrupt government body where the same exact pattern of conduct is underway. It's not different from Los Angeles. It's not different from Ontario to HESPERIA. You're seeing the same pattern of conduct, and you have the same issue of public corruption that I'm exposing again in yet another corner in the state of California. None of this is going to be heard inside of the hotel. It's the intent of a population to engage in group stalking, and that's a terrorizing environment. All right, and no business has a right to profit while they're group stalking. This is impossible, like this just appearing in the shade. I just want to show you that. All right, this is maintaining an environment so that a demon can group stalk you. This is the light source. It's 9:13 a.m. This is not over Woodside Senior Apartments. Remember, at 9:36, I'm at Vine Avenue. At 10:01, the Ontario Police Department, a bunch of demons, cockroaches, who are hostile because I'm documenting the demons and the cockroaches who are the people of the state, who are group stalking you with a cigarette in their hand and should be concerned with things such as their own physical health. And you wouldn't have to worry about being criticized physically by the targeted individual who you're trying to murder or kidnap. All right, the entities engaging this under a fake sun, which is the identifying environment, which is scientifically impossible, which is going toward intent of La Quinta, of the population, of the government. This is P.O.C. It's 9:14 a.m. Good morning. It's October 11, 2024. It's Friday. It's 9:14 a.m. Capturing the light source over the facilitating venue that is La Quinta Inns and Suites by WYNDHAM. Documenting, as I captured yesterday on podcast and in images and video, not only did you see the impossible light activity through the hallway, you saw the fake sun today and engineer light in the lobby area where the employees and the patrons, demons alike, are group stalking together, and that is speaking for not only the enhancement to federal charges sentencing, but the damages that WYNDHAM is going to be subject to, okay? Threatening my life, acting further into the state's criminal pattern of conduct designed to result in my murder, my kidnapping, while they have the audacity to make money while doing it, which is the criminal act, the heights of hypocrisy and viciousness that the United States is engaging in, while they are essentially making contracts on the lives of American citizens who are being targeted by the constituents of the states and the government. That is public corruption that I'm exposing in California. All right, the demon driving the commercial vehicle Diamond Pool and Spa is sitting in relevant position. This is a male. The license plate again, 45043A3, is stalking in the path as I stop recording video, and this coward then arrives to get in the vehicle and turn the headlights on, and possible light activity is sweeping across the building. He's going to federal prison. And that commercial actor, that vendor, that company name is going to be sued for not only criminal engagement in the pattern of conduct, but also federal stalking and also engaging in what is the pattern of conduct with impunity. That's a high threat. That's speaking to how long that demon driving that commercial vehicle is going to sit in federal prison. Remember all the terrorism that I'm subject to when the entity is hiding in their, when I'm in my room, they're hiding. They want to duck and dodge because I'm in my hotel room documenting the terrorism that I'm subject to. Earthquakes occurring when you're just closing your door, sounding as though someone's running and it's creating an earthquake. Okay, Diamond Pool and Spa, which again, La Quinta Inn and Suites, is affiliated with such a third party, I surmise. They can claim or deny that they have a contract with this third party who would like to claim that they're cleaning the pool. That's what the demons typically do. I'm here for a purpose. And the criminal purpose that coexists is federal group stalking and monitoring. And you're still going to federal prison. All right, license 32186L3. These are the people of the state that are group stalking under the fake sun that's over La Quinta Inn. And as I pointed out, using the time as a heightened measure of illustration showing you an environment that is irreconcilable. Not only is the fake sun not over in Hesperia, the Holiday Inn, okay? I'm documenting the light source over me at 9 o'clock in the morning, and it's not over Holiday Inn. And if it was, it's not going to be seen through the window of this La Quinta by WYNDHAM in the same city. That doesn't mean the sun is over all of us everywhere, out of every window, over us in the same manner. These demons that are on the freeway, the sun's not moving over them in the manner that I document. That's how you're recognizing targeting by an entity who, by the way, their condition is also knowable. They're a bunch of demons, and they're psychopaths who look to the left and right while they act maintain a demeanor and outside behavior as though nothing is happening, and it's all supposed to occur within the imagination pursuant to what is the criminal act of criminal defamation, that the targeted individual is indeed targeted, which you can see through the environment, which is entirely unnatural. It's a scientific impossibility, and also coexisting with the behavioral pattern. So is the terrorism that was occurring inside of my hotel room. Earthquakes, the vibration, the ongoing shaking, the harassment that I'm subject to, the demons that are slamming their hotel doors, which is amplified audible activity. And this is because not only are they hostile, because I know, and I'm also letting everyone else in the world know that these are demons and they're criminals and they're going to suffer consequences. But you can know also what a demon looks like, and they're right on surveillance cameras thinking that you're not going to recognize them. And that's their own illusions. They're all now suffering from their own illusions because it did not work on the targeted individual. They look just like what they are. They look like demons on surveillance cameras in plain view. That's what they look like. There's no hiding what the entity is doing, and they're in the environment. And that's the context where the federal government and the rest of the world is going to take a second look at everything, where they're openly engaging in a very serious criminal system. And every single last demon at La Quinta is going to federal prison. 9JVJ420-32186L3. MEGGRSS. These are the third parties that are at La Quinta Inns and Suites by WYNDHAM, who is a criminal. Understand that this is a malicious misuse of a company that is engaged in, and it's facilitating federal group stalking and monitoring. This is terrorism that a corporate actor is engaging in, which is how terrorism is occurring in the United States, as opposed to what's supposed to be less barbaric, less animalistic, less Neanderthalic. Because this country doesn't have children that have dirt all over their face and are barefoot and holes all in their clothes, placing large bazookas in their hands. The United States conducts itself and esteems itself higher than third world countries. And that's a lie out of the pit of hell. CAW6555, that's Washington. 8BZE273. 95732V2. This is Colorado, ENG, E44. 9CVV283, 8MUC924, 6AYJ680. And remember what I documented on the first night of my arrival here? That parking lot full of third parties, their license plates, they're all on the record and they're going to federal prison. They can drive and fly and go as far as they want. You're not escaping the federal government. They have many resources, and the entities are assuming that they're not already identified, that they're not already being watched while they're steady watching me. The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct, and they're all going to federal prison like I documented. The entity poisoning me inside of my room. And that's because while they're being documented, engaged in the pattern of conduct, I've got a third party seeking to obstruct justice with no license plate on the vehicle. This is the Mercedes-Benz of South Bay. It looks like a Cadillac. I'm going to take a picture of it at 9:20 a.m. All right, license plate, HOMEFRY. Understand the traffic that you hear is not going to be heard inside of the hotel. That's why I'm able to hear my own thoughts. That's why I'm able to talk on my phone, which is the normal circumstances. It's the admission by a population to, this is how the unintelligent and obsessed demons don't understand how their own conduct, their own terrorism is going to be used against them. This demon, 7TVG203, is going to federal prison. This is an Asian female driving a very dusty Ford Escape that's never going to create any ricocheting sunlight. That's a demon's intentional engagement in terrorism via directed light, the admission of a group stalker who was begging for federal prison. And you don't have to beg very hard or at all. That's where she's going. 9NFW097, 7ZPW947, 44412B4. This is Montana, DSG 994 on a Volkswagen. Understand the government that's engaging in the pattern of conduct, aware that I document addresses, I document employees, I document license plates, is already documented engaging in a pattern intending to obstruct justice, highly unintelligent. The state government thinks that they're smart and they're not. They're the same idiots stalking under a fake sun, and every criminal attempt to obstruct justice to try to avoid identity is adding on to time in federal prison. So the federal government is already expecting that, and they know the ways in which I'm documenting, but they do not also anticipate the federal government that's working right in concert, right along with me. They're going to federal prison for any criminal acts to try to avoid being identified. That's the government that does not have a right to try to escape justice, and you'll be prosecuted for it. License 9DSS133, 5YCD022, stalking in the path in the parking lot, is license 6YJD708. That's a Latino male. Impossible light activity while this demon's walking. All right, are you looking at an African-American female just walking by on the sidewalk? That's called crossing a path, and it's pacing with the demons in traffic, and impossible lights swiping all across third-party facilitating venue, MARIPOSA Tire and Auto. Okay, at what is the address that I stated on MARIPOSA, across the street from La Quinta, they're engaged in 24-hour surveillance. And that's how that criminal act by a corrupt business is exposed, not the time that business began existence. It's when they engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is the terrorizing system where that specific environment follows that person. And that's how you are immediately outside of the shoes of any protected state and immediately in the shoes of the government, where everybody's exposed for federal prosecution. LVN 5029, that's Texas. License plate 4JJX 529. Terrorism via directed light, 8WJL690, 9HTK351, terrorism via directed light, group stalking with the state. And the demons that are the San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department are using these mentally ill demons. They're the same entity. License 7LEH400, license 9ACN869, license 8MUH451, 04968G1, and the people of the state are group stalking. This is pacing, 5SYN317. And none of this, as you can hear my voice, you cannot hear these demons who are intentionally admitting to the population, the state group stalking you. You cannot hear that traffic inside of the hotel room. But that's exactly what's being amplified. It's an intentional engagement in the elements of monitoring. As the entity engages in such unintelligent methods of seeking to harass you, it's speaking to what is the importance of that. Why do they continue to do that? Because it's an elemental factor to the crime. It is currently 9:24 a.m. on October 11, 2024. Impossible light activity fills the venue. P.O.C. All right, you see demonic pacing by the entity that is group stalking by housekeepers who are engaging in terrorism throughout the day. You can see the fake sun, you can see the light source, the engineered light on the ground, and also on the ceiling while they're pulling around. That's audible activity while they're group stalking as an employee at the venue. Okay, they're all going to federal prison like I stated, and it's the intent to do so. As I get on the elevator crossing a path in order to group stalk, that is again housekeepers that are not under any circumstances ceasing to engage in that very severe and costly strictly criminal system. That's how devoted the housekeepers at La Quinta Inn are for purposes of going to federal prison. And any of them that are not natural-born citizens is not limited to housekeeping. You can see the demons engaging in surrounding as I walk back into the entrance of La Quinta. The demon with the cellulite issue, because she heard exactly what I said. She's standing at the entrance door, surrounding with the employee who's sitting at the entrance, not engaging in the lawful execution of any job. La Quinta's job, La Quinta's business shall not serve these federal group stalking and monitoring, and they're doing so in that specific environment, which you can see in the images and which I've already captured on video, and they're both going to federal prison. That's called impunity. That level of devotion that the entity demonstrates as they are documented. And remember, they're monitoring documentation. Since you're so devoted, you can go to federal prison for that. Okay, the entity is showing ongoing impunity. That's how that's documented. Those are psychopaths. What are you devoted to? You're devoted to group stalking. You're devoted to targeting a stranger. And there is no facts that are supporting that you're doing anything other than that. Federal group stalking and monitoring is fully exposed. It is revealing what is mental illness, because that's why you're a group stalker. You're talking about severe mental illness, which is caused by, demon possession. It is currently 9:27 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, relevant positioning on the hallway. Impossible light activity is already captured on video. The demons are in position inside of room 317. The same demon that you saw in video, she's inside of room 317. Impossible light activity that is also moving across the ceiling. The same demons that I just documented by license plate are acting with impunity. They don't cease to be a part of the same entity while they're driving off, and a different demon, different face, different license plate crosses path, and impossible light activity flashes in the hallway. This is criminal conduct that the employees at La Quinta Inn are going to federal prison because they act as one. This is terrorism as well, and all they're doing is pacing in and out of hotel rooms and maintaining presence while earthquakes and booming and banging is heard through the walls and the floors and the ceiling, which is amplified audible activity. And demons are gratified while they engage in terrorizing and harassing you. La Quinta Inn is going to be subject to damages. La Quinta Inn is going to be criminally prosecuted, and the employees are going to federal prison. It's P.O.C. Everybody staying in the hotel, coming in and out of their hotel rooms, is used by key cards, and that's also a matter of public record, which is also going to be produced. Crossing path, coming in and out of their rooms, they're monitoring me and harassing and terrorizing me. It's 9:28 a.m. Impossible light is indeed flashing on this third floor hallway. The rooms 315 is open. The rooms 311 is open. Demon is already on. They're surrounding on both sides of my room for purposes of maintaining presence. Somebody's always present to be group stalking in the path, and they are doing so with knowledge of the fact that it's being documented. The demons that are in the position as patrons, and the demons that are in the position as employees who are housekeeping. You have a lot of housekeepers that are going to do hard time in federal prison. It is 9:28 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, documentation of what is ongoing terrorism while the demons who you just saw in images, you see them on video, you see them also crossing path in traffic. That's the corporate engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is an act of terrorism committed by a government who's acting through a bunch of demon-possessed constituents of the state, and together they are going to be prosecuted for the system of terrorism that they engage in together. You can see through the evidence as you're witnessing the pattern of conduct, they are together collectively the highly unintelligent and unprepared entity that is demon-possessed and fully defeated by its own engagement in that criminal system. As I return to my room, the entity is engaging in what is terrorism as I take screenshots so you can see up-close images of the demons, particularly those who are being demon-possessed while housekeeping, which is a very serious offense, especially while they exhibit it. That's terrorism while a stalker is showing you their mental illness. They're intending to specifically terrorize you and psychologically harm you, and they're going to federal prison for that. And while I take screenshots inside of my on my phone inside of my room, ongoing amplified audible activity of all the demons that you see them in the hallway. They're in the path. They want to be bashful while I'm capturing video, and you can see the impossible light activity, so everyone knows that they're group stalking. And they are in position as I am in my hotel room. At the same time I take screenshots, ongoing booming and banging, and also vibration heard through the, vibration felt through the floor as I'm standing in the middle of the hotel room, which is again the sensational activity. So I just want to be clear. Those that are going to federal prison are going for a prolonged term. The impunity that I continue to document is relevant to that. That's what's directly supporting it. The entity is engaging in this criminal system, which is exposing what is their obsession. This pattern of conduct is not just born because somebody just woke up and somebody paid them $50 to group stalk me. These are the demon possessed. They are compelled by obsession that is inexplicable. All right, and that obsession is not the targeted individual's issue. It's something that you can document and with regard to enforcing your rights, because the government has no right to, through the people of the state, which that ongoing conspiracy to group stalk as an entity is already established. All right, by clear and convincing evidence, they share presence in the specific environment. The state engages in posing a threat to your life and safety as you document the demons who are the people of the state, and vice versa. The entity is acting together, engaging in the shared conduct, which is demonic, terrorism, impossible light activity, while they're present in your path, while they're crossing your path. And the entity is doing so with knowledge of what you're documenting about it. And so while I walk inside of my room and I just captured all of these defendants' images and license plates, they're engaging in ongoing impunity and malice, speaking to, again, the worthiness of not only federal prison, but deportation where it applies. And that's both the patrons, the employees alike. The entity will also be prosecuting relevant position. Remember everything that I documented at MARIPOSA Road and all those restaurants. John Carino's, Chili's, Staples, the Dollar Tree, Michael's. They're all across the street. They're still group stalking. This is where the fake sun is rising and setting. Those are not legitimate businesses, and they are intentionally engaging in the pattern of conduct, just like I documented at nightfall when I was getting all their license plates and all of the names of those venues. They are on the opposite side of MARIPOSA Road, and Margosa, across the street, essentially. And they are monitoring me as well. They're a part of the same entity. Where the fake sun is remaining intentionally over La Quinta ends, the people of the state, including the tow truck company who you see group stalking, you see him stalking in the path, standing in the middle of the parking lot in relevant position, in alignment to me. You see the fake sun where? In alignment to me, in a manner that is entirely speaking to what is deliberate and intentional for the criminal purposes of everyone around, because it's not a natural environment. It's impossible at the same time that the sun's seen through Tracy Banks' front door at 9:03 a.m., that is seen through the window of La Quinta Inn, that is facing MARIPOSA Road and Hesperia. The two are not happening at the same time, nor can they coexist with regard to the light activity that I'm showing you, which again, the light activity isn't even sunlight. The light activity is showing you what is placed light that's inside of the venues. It's literally your ability to recognize the presence of demons. The demonic environment is the work of Satan. It's not sunlight, nor is that the sun. There is a demonic imitation of the natural environment that surrounds all of us. I am subject to what is criminal targeting in this demonic environment, and it is the work of Satan by those who are possessed by Satan. Demon possession exposed, and it's also public corruption exposed. The entities engaged in this conduct with the intent to terrorize and harass while they're engaged in federal stalking. That's the significance of my hotel room, standing in the floor, and then all of a sudden I'm going boom, and it's vibrating under my feet. That's terrorism, which there is going to be a monetary value placed on that, which you can't quantify the harms, you can't quantify the psychological harms and the threat to your life. But WYNDHAM is by far going to be subject to what is a means of prosecuting them for the criminal conduct by damages being assigned for what they're doing as a company through their demon-possessed employees and their demon-possessed patrons, which you are accountable, liable for the criminal conduct that's happening on your property while you're profiting from it and while you're engaging in it. Okay, this is what I want to make sure I'm capturing. It's 9:41 a.m. The entity kept the fake sun over 714 North Vine Avenue at 10:01 a.m. where I'm capturing video at 9:31 a.m. The fake sun is here. I'm looking at it through the window on the hallway at La Quinta Inn, which is also not over Hesperia's Holiday Inn at 9750 Key Point Avenue. Don't forget all of that. It's nowhere near Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles. Okay, it's certainly not going to be anywhere in San Diego, California, contrary to what I'm documenting in San Diego, California. But that's not the natural environment in San Diego, California. That would be impossible. In fact, it is impossible. So is the impossible light activity that's captured in this hallway, which is speaking to demons who are ducking and dodging camera and still engaging in what is very readily noticeable and very easily documented, especially upon already having established my credibility and also having a body of evidence of stalking in helicopters, stalking by police, fire, and ambulance, demon possession of all of the aforesaid, and also the demonic environment that follows me where I go. And I mean that in the same way that I just stated it. The demonic environment follows me where I go, i.e. the light source, which is not the sun, which is at yet another venue, La Quinta Inns and Suites. I want to be clear that housekeeping is going to federal prison. All right. And that's the prosecution for the people of the state. The entity that's engaging in this system is doing so with impunity, and they will be treated just the same. I don't care the level of education or lack thereof of any demon calling themselves some chief of police, some fire chief, some mayor. None of them are exempt from a prosecution, first of all, but they will be treated just like, because they are the same condition, engaged in the same criminal conduct. And so somebody that can't even speak English, group stalking while cleaning toilets, is going to be treated like the demon, the same cockroach criminal conduct facilitated by those that call themselves some sort of authority figure sitting ahead of these corrupt departments. The mayor, the body, the government body council, HESPERIA's city council is corrupt. They're a bunch of demons. They're group stalkers. That's why the people of the state are group stalking. That's why I'm subject to it in the city of HESPERIA. It's not just a bunch of demons that are just following me from place to place, and that's who's at La Quinta Inn. That's not the pattern of conduct, and nor does the evidence show that. Evidence shows what is a pervasive, far-reaching pattern of conduct that goes from city to city, county to county, including state to state, in a manner that is irreconcilable with what cannot solely exist in the imagination of the ordinary target individual who lacks this evidence. It's shown through the specific environment, and it's shown through the pattern of conduct that's occurring in that specific environment, which, by the way, is speaking to a pattern, not an ongoing coincidence, which is impossible. It is clinically referred to as exactly what it is, a pattern of conduct. And that's speaking to, by the way, the prosecution of the people of the state in California, the prosecution of the people of the state in Nevada. It is currently 9:44 a.m. Documentation of harassment and terrorism by the entity engaging in federal stalking in violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. This is P.O.C. All right, at what is 9:52 a.m., as I walk into the bathroom and turn the light on, at the same time, a loud boom, bang. This is a demon using a hotel room door closure. Again, a demon is able to do that while they're not looking at you, they're not sharing the same space with you. That's called stalking with activity, and it's occurring in the engineered light that fills this hotel. And it's supposed to fool you into thinking that it's sunlight. It's not. You can see the concentrated light flat on the ground in the hallway, the far hallway window. On the floor in front of the far hallway window, and then also the engineered light that's literally floating and moving across the walls. This is the terrorism that La Quinta Inns and Suites by WYNDHAM is engaging in while their third-party housekeeper is group stalking me. And so you'll see her walking into the hallway. I take an image as she's walking back. That's a terrorizing act that the entity is engaging in while she is group stalking me. I step out. She's got her communication device in hand, and she is openly monitoring. She's going to federal prison. That is literally impunity that the federal government, that's exactly what you're going to address. The entity's been engaged in criminal conduct, acting to murder and kidnap people, and doing it right in front of your face, just skipping right on along as though there are no consequences. And this entire delusional entity is going to suffer very severe consequences. As I'm opening up my door, I'm looking to see what demon is in relevant position. As you know, I'll ask them for a towel or anything, just in order to document them, because you need to see the faces of Satan. Okay, Satan doesn't have a race. Satan doesn't have an age. Satan uses people. Satan is a spirit, and you're also witnessing their mental illness while they keep a smile on their face and while they are outwardly conducting themselves as though they're doing anything normal, lawful, appropriate, or professional. This is demon possession at work. It's malice, okay? The outward demonstration of that malice is also showing you what is demonic, okay? That level of malice is also demonic. This is the third party this is the same housekeeper who was in relevant position in video yesterday, where that impossible light activity that I captured again today, speaking to, again, nothing that I can manufacture. All I'm doing is holding up my camera, and it is the fools that are stalking under the fake sun and the fools that are stalking in that environment, because the world is going to witness how severely you're going to be prosecuted where that evidence is coexisting with what is the pattern of conduct. You're in that evidence. You might as well hold the gun on video, put it on Facebook Live, and blow somebody's head off, because that is the evidence of group stalking and monitoring in the directed light, which this housekeeper is providing against the entire state of California. Doing so with such casualty, that's relevant to the level of damages and the enhancement to federal charges. That's a very severe threat to the life of an American citizen who's being psychologically tortured and who was literally being tortured by maintaining by demons that are maintaining systematic presence and activity all around you, including as you physically move, including as you operate your phone, including as you move from place to place, including turning on the bathroom light. Okay, that is P.O.C. Remember the documentation that I captured on podcast. While that same demon who you see crossing paths, you'll see the edge of her body because she's walking into the hallway. With her phone in hand, this demon is openly stalking, and I'm glad, because she's going to be treated in that same way when she's prosecuted, openly punished and placed in the cage where she belongs. And if she's not an American citizen by birth, such demons are not welcome in this country. You are looking forward to deportation, and why is also going to be a matter of what is policy, so that everybody understands in this country what's not tolerated and how it will be openly rebuked. The entity is engaged in this conduct with such impunity, and is doing so with knowledge of the fact that they're being documented. Whether or not that this demon understands what deportation is, how to spell it, what that means for her, And with regard to prosecution, maybe she doesn't know what prosecution means. Maybe she doesn't understand what federal prison. That's not limiting the penalties that she's going to be subject to. And it's not also not limiting the entity that she represents and is acting in concert with. The state is relying on that demon walking in that engineer light right in front of your face and understand the experience of the targeted individual who's being terrorized and psychologically harmed while the entity is group stalking them right in front of their face as well, as though they have no rights while they're documenting it, as though you are communicating unlawfully that the target individual has no rights and that you're not going to get justice. And that's a lie out of pit of hell as well. You're going to prosecute for all of that. It's relevant to psychological harm. So I just want to be clear. The entity is engaging in what is ongoing harassment and terrorism as an entity. That's what is the sensational activity in your room, the amplified audible activity in your room, the stalking with activity, the pattern of conduct of stalking with activity in your room. Remember what was documented, which is what I was going to reference seconds ago. The impossible light that's moving across the ceiling and across not the bedroom wall, but this hotel room wall while I'm speaking. Engineer light that you see in the hallway. The entity's aiming engineer light through the windows are covered. The fake sun is out the hallway window. Never is that even going to be the product of sunlight. That is the entity that is openly engaging in what is terrorizing me while they know exactly what I'm saying, they know exactly where I'm at, and they're engaging in acts of terrorism. I don't have to make it up. Nor would I, but I don't even have to. The entity is engaging in what is a pattern of conduct, and it is very, very foolish. It is as serious as doing it right on camera with regard to what everyone understands to be an quote-unquote unacceptable crime, such as murdering someone and holding the gun and doing it on Facebook Live. Nobody in their right mind would do it. What the world's going to recognize is nobody in their right mind would openly be engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring. That's where we're going with this, because that's how severe it is. People are losing their lives. People are losing their freedom. All right. And the government is doing it. These fools are on this side of a prosecution doing it right on camera while it's being documented. All right. It is currently 9:58 a.m. This is P.O.C. It is currently 3:50 p.m. And this is documentation with regard to the federal imprisonment of third parties such as Cindy, whose image and likeness, and in other words, criminal presence at a facilitating venue in concert with the state of California is already a matter of record. Cindy is being specifically documented by name because Cindy is a documented third party and a demon-possessed group stalker who's monitoring with the people of the state who are at this time at 3:49 p.m. That's the evidence of Cindy group stalking at La Quinta, where it's impossible to hear traffic. That's the admission that Cindy is indeed group stalking with the demons who are on surveillance cameras at 3:49 and 3:50. Using key cards, going in and out of the hotel rooms, using the doors at the very least, while I'm in the bed inside of my room on the third floor where all of the entity knows that. That's why you saw the fake sun. That's why you saw impossible light activity, and only fools engage in criminal conduct, for example, on Facebook Live, and think in their mind that they're not going to serve time in federal prison for the crimes that they are openly engaging in before the federal judge is going to sentence them. Nonetheless, Cindy is being documented. Cindy is the demon whose name I know. Cindy is acting in concert with every other employee at La Quinta Inn who are both wearing housekeeping uniforms and who are accessing the hotel room doors, pacing in and out. Another demon at 3:51 p.m. right now. And as you've seen on video, the demons are also including the housekeepers. It's not different with regard to those that are staying in the room and those that are pacing, all the same as they're entering and exiting in order to group stalk. And so I took a picture of what the demons are monitoring. And so at 3:49 p.m., the hotel room door, you'll see a demon. You'll know exactly what it is. You'll see a demon accessing a hotel room door. And at the same time that hotel room door closes, I'm taking a screenshot so that the criminal system that the state of California is engaging in is fully documented. While they engage in that criminal pattern of conduct, the evidence of which they're engaging in surrounds them while demons are pacing all around. As you hear them outside, you saw them being the people crawling, pacing all around under a fake sun and engineered light, monitoring on camera, which they will understand is a grave mistake. Just like you don't commit murders on Facebook Live. I can't put it any more plain than that. This is what the entity continues to do. They're doing the same thing on surveillance cameras inside of this hotel. And I am subject to ongoing terrorism for which the people of the state, WYNDHAM, is going to compensate. They will be criminally and civilly prosecuted, and damages will serve to deter the criminal conduct that WYNDHAM is currently and continuously engaging in. And they are engaging in it while the demons that WYNDHAM is intentionally placing in its hotel for purposes of criminal activity, not in any way engaging in what is free, constitutionally protected operation of a business. Because WYNDHAM's property, La Quinta Inn, is a facilitating venue. maliciously using the property to engage in what is federal group stalking and monitoring, and the entity that is the people of the state commercially acting by WYNDHAM. These demons are, as you heard, traffic, which is literally you hear the demonic. It's impossible to hear the demonic while I'm outside looking at the demons, reading their license plates. It's not so loud that you can't hear me speaking. It's not so loud that I can't even hear my thoughts. I literally reminded you of that while I was outside amongst those demons as I'm reading their license plates, and I'm recalling all of the environment, all of whom are simultaneously being documented, by the way. But nonetheless, the demons are on surveillance cameras and they're going in and out of the hotel rooms. And as they do that, you're looking at demonic activity, because inside of my hotel room, while I'm in the bed, which is in the center of the hotel room, simultaneously as a demon closes their door in what is impossible light that you've seen on video, under the fake sun that you saw on video, in conformity to the pattern of conduct that pre-existed my relocating to yet another venue, my hotel room is subject to an isolated earthquake. That's a terrorizing, criminal act that WYNDHAM is engaging in. And WYNDHAM continuously does so with malice and impunity, which is relevant with regard to how much damages WYNDHAM is going to pay for the criminal conduct that they're facilitating. They're making money while they're engaging in the ongoing criminal conspiracy to murder or kidnap me. They're doing it in concert with the people of the state. They are fully engaging and facilitating the community's engagement on behalf of the corrupt government to engage in group stalking. That's why you can hear the impossible, because they're demons, and it is also criminal while you hear that demonic activity, the sound of traffic inside of my hotel room. Okay, in the same way that you can't hear this air cooler outside, you cannot hear the traffic inside. That's amplification. That's what I continuously document. And demons that are hostile because the Ontario Police Department is group stalking me in helicopters under a fake sun that could not ever at any time of the day be over La Quinta Inn, contrary to the evidence that I just captured. That's the environment that these hostile demons are monitoring me in, and they're going to federal prison for even longer. The demon possessed who are very severely mentally ill continuously engage in a pattern of conduct where they are, not only is their prosecution and their imprisonment, their punishment inevitable, but their mental illness is exposed, and it's going to cause WYNDHAM, a corrupt company, a lot of money. But that's justice. But I also want to be clear, they are doing so because they are merely hostile to the fact that they have lost. You're dealing with Satan. These are spirits. Okay, so you're looking at a demon-possessed person access the hotel rooms on the 3rd floor. They're around me. They're group stalking. And my documentation coexists with the business records that are going to be produced by this corrupt business and the population who's being simultaneously, while the entity is group stalking me, the entity is being watched. And everything that I document is corroborating what, again, the entity is not mindful of. Again, assuming that nobody is watching them terrorize an American citizen. You go to federal prison for terrorism in the U.S. It's not different from Osama bin Laden, who's a terrorist from across the seas. All right, and he served a very severe penalty. But where terrorists usually go to Guantanamo Bay, domestic terrorists, homebred, in other words, and those that are not even natural-born citizens, they're going to be handled by being deported right back to wherever they came from, and they can terrorize in that country. The entity is engaged in a pattern of conduct, and while I'm documenting federal group stalking and monitoring on September 21st, 2024 at 5:46 p.m., where the entity has the fake sun here at La Quinta Inn. And how do I know that? Because it's the same exact pattern of conduct. At 5:46 p.m., guess where the light source is documented? It's not possibly the sun that could be in alignment with my person through my rear windshield of my vehicle while I am in Las Vegas, Nevada. While Union Pacific is the method of light activity, crossing a path and massive facilitation using the train, which is what the state engages in order to engage in mass monitoring, while a fake sun is in perfect alignment through my vehicle's rear windshield at the same exact time while I'm in Ontario, California. That's 2 different states. And the fake sun that's also present at that same apartment complex over Tracy Banks's apartment number 51, like I documented on the left side of her apartment, as though that's where the sun rises, and that's why I document it, and that's where it stays at around the same time, 5:46 p.m., where at 9 o'clock in the morning, the fake sun is there. The terrorist organization, the Ontario Police Department, is group stalking me in helicopter. And at the end of the day, at 5:46 p.m., where that fake sun remains and could not ever be in Las Vegas, but that's why I went to Las Vegas to show you the impossible, the evidence that surrounds these demons who are engaging in real-time and ongoing ceaseless terrorism while their demon-possessed condition and their criminal engagement in the elements of monitoring are both combined for what is equating to prolonged time in federal prison. And WYNDHAM is going to compensate for the damages and the criminal conduct that WYNDHAM is being continuously documented as engaging in. All right, so I want to make sure that I'm documenting. It's 3:57 p.m. You literally heard the entity admitting that they're demons and they're group stalking as you heard traffic. You also saw that and witnessed that while the fake sun is seen through the window of this hotel. And as you saw, impossible light activity, vacillating, swiping, sweeping all through this hotel. Only fools would be caught on camera, would be documented here, but I continuously document fools who will be published, maintained by the DOJ as domestic terrorists, which is recognized, very real system, life-threatening system amongst American citizens in this country. And the Ontario Police Department is going to be disbanded. The San Bernardino County Sheriff's Department documented kidnappers are group stalking with these demons who are hostile losers and are going to federal prison. And rather than ceasing to engage in terrorism, the mental illness is fully exposed as they continuously do so. You're not separate. While you're engaging in that, I will continuously document. There is no claiming any hallucinating from this targeted individual. You've come against the one that's going to prosecute you and let everyone know that you serve Satan in doing so. But they will know that because your testimony is that which of losing. You've lost horribly. And you're going to lose your freedom. The entity is pacing in the hallway on the 3rd floor at La Quinta Inn at 12000 Mariposa Road. The entity is amplifying their group stalking with the demons that are pacing all around this hotel. That's not traffic. These demons are obsessively maintaining presence all around, group stalking as an entity that is jointly hostile to the evidence that's surrounding the entire state of California. And the entity resorts to more violence, more sexual violence, more harassment, more terrorism. And that's exactly what I'm subject to. This is why I want to document that. You will see the image of the evidence, a criminal act, the evidence that the entity is monitoring and doing so with the criminal intent to obstruct justice. Because while they're engaging in criminal activity, group stalking, they're also engaged in, federal stalking, violation of Title 18, Section 2261A, subsections 1 and 2. All right, this is a mentally ill population that is represented on the roads and the highways. They're group stalking as a state on Mariposa Road on the freeway that's surrounding this hotel, which is a means of ongoing amplification. And nobody's escaping punishment for it. The people of the state that work here, and many of whose images I've kept, they're all going to federal prison, and so are the demon-possessed third parties who are staying at the venue. This is systematic means of federal group stalking and monitoring, where a malicious use of a company is served to facilitate a criminal pattern of conduct by the state of California, which is the purpose of that conspiracy is to murder or kidnap an American citizen. And so while demons are pacing in and out of hotel rooms where they have no business and no right to be, they're doing so with the criminal intent to harass and terrorize another person, and they are foolish enough to do it on surveillance camera. So I just want to be clear. The demons around include the demons in room 306, 307, 309, 310 in my immediate vicinity. The demons directly below me, 206, 207, 208, 209, and 210, and maintaining immediate relevant positioning. All of those demons that are engaging, day by day, they're all going to federal prison because all they're doing is, and it's shared by the housekeepers. Remember, all they're doing is maintaining relevant positioning and audible activity, while engineer light, which you already know, is vacillating in the hallway, and the fake sun is over the hotel. You already know that the fake sun is remaining over the hotel while I remain all day long. So they're surrounded by that while they engage in what is essentially terrorizing and harassing literally their prosecutor. That it does not get any more foolish than that, and they're doing it on camera. This is an entirely defeated entity. And if you did not know, Satan is a sore loser. Satan also knows that he's a loser. He's just hopeful that you don't know that he's a loser. Okay, it is currently 4:01 p.m. The entity is engaged in ongoing methods of amplification, which includes the demons that are on surveillance cameras. All they are doing is engaging in criminal monitoring. That's all that they're doing, because that's why I'm here. That's why the specific environment is here, and that's what they're doing while I am here. It is the reality that the government is obsessively consumed with group stalking me. And that's just an unfortunate reality, and the evidence supports it. They're not doing anything, and they're also not doing anything that they're free to do. So they're literally checking in, and they're checking in order to go to federal prison, because that's exactly what's going to happen. And the obsession is shown as the entity does so. They're voluntarily checking in, and they're voluntarily signing up for a federal prosecution, which results in federal prison. Every single last one. They're providing their credit card numbers and their IDs, and they're doing it on surveillance cameras, and all the business records of this third-party facilitating venue is going to be produced, and they're going to be prosecuted comprehensively. It is currently 4:02 p.m. You can see the image of the evidence that the entity is monitoring, and this is because the entity lacks self-control and cannot control itself, and so engaging in more criminal conduct is certainly not the answer. And you certainly are very imprudent and unwise trying to harass and terrorize your prosecutor, literally. It is currently 4:02 p.m. This is P.O.C. at third-party facilitating venue La Quinta Inns and Suites at 12000. I believe that's 12,000 Mariposa Road in Hesperia, California, where this criminal system is underway. And all of the features, as you hear traffic, that's the entity engaging in what is the demonic pattern of conduct. And that also is evidence that the entity is terrorizing me on an ongoing basis, as I'm documenting on the document entitled La Quinta - the People. I'm documenting on an ongoing basis the timestamps, what it is that the entity is, what I'm doing, in other words, on my either physically and or on my communication devices, because that's what the entity is monitoring everything that I do, monitoring all the evidence against it while they are merely hostile with the intent to obstruct justice, in other words. So because you lost, now you're just engaging in it because you want to obstruct justice, and you shall not engage in anything that is serving to oppress or silence the target individual's right to blow the whistle on you, because you're going to federal prison. This criminal pattern of conduct is serving to inform federal legislation, because the federal government is now aware of that which no one can reasonably deny. It is a fact of federal group stalking and monitoring, which is group stalking. In other words, the state of California is a gang stalker and a violent sex offender and is demon possessed, while all of the government actors in the population they serve Satan. Satan has a chokehold on this population. That's why I'm able to go everywhere and show you a consistent pattern of conduct that is incongruent with nature. It is indeed the evidence of demon possession. In addition to that, this is informing federal laws. You shall not in any way impede with an American citizen's right to enforce their right to not be subject to your obsession. And if you do, they can, just like these fools are, okay? You can do that if you want, but you will not outside of what is severe time in federal prison. It is obstruction of justice, whether these demons know how to spell it or not. It is currently 4:04 p.m. This is P.O.C. at La Quinta Inns and Suites. Alrighty, that's an ongoing admission of the entity's defiance to federal law, and that's going to be addressed by a federal policy and also the federal prosecution. All right, the demons who are highly uneducated and engage in this gang violence, and this is why I do not advocate criminal conduct. But what I will say is I would never engage in criminal conduct with a fool. That would incriminate me and get me in more trouble than I ordinarily would be in if I prudently pick those that I engage in criminal conduct with. The entity is engaged in what is amplification. And I want to be clear, the timing was deliberate. The moment that I stopped recording, that heightened level of volume of traffic is simultaneously occurring. And so I immediately press record so that you can hear that. That's a threat to your life. All of the demonic pattern of conduct is an ongoing communication of a threat to the targeted individual. It is that which is designed to psychologically harm, and there shall be a dollar amount placed on that. Again, WYNDHAM is going to be criminally and civilly prosecuted for that which they're engaging in. They are engaging in the pattern of conduct while the demons are pacing around their hotel, and it is amplified inside of the hotel. They're group stalking together. They're sharing in the elements of monitoring together. Okay, just want to capture that. That's malice and impunity. And the people of the state that are at this venue, at WYNDHAM's La Quinta Inn, they're going to federal prison for group stalking with the demons who are zooming back and forth around them, and they're getting each other in trouble. The entire state's going to be prosecuted. There is a population of people that are going to federal prison even before I arrived here, and they're all going to suffer together. Why? Because these gang members are engaging in criminal conduct together. All right. It is currently, again, 4:06 p.m. That is P.O.C. All right. It is still Friday, October 11, 2024, and it's 7:53 p.m. This is regarding the ongoing harassment and terrorism as an entity that is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. And this is a criminal system that the state of California is currently operating. And it is a federal offense that is in violation of one's constitutional and your human rights, which the state government is outright disregarding, while it is criminally keeping an American citizen under surveillance, and necessarily so in concert with those that are in the state itself that are not a part of any law enforcement agency or anything like that. This is, first of all, it's a demonic system. That is, the government is maliciously engaging in what is criminal surveillance, which is demonic in nature. It is equally criminal, and it is entirely demonic. It is exposing the government that is engaged in public corruption, criminal surveillance, and it's exposing simultaneously demon possession, which is also alarming that government officials are demon possessed, and they're also criminals. They're engaging in lawlessness while outwardly conducting themselves as though they are literally governed by constitutional principles and engaging in what is execution of the law, for example, these terrorist organizations. And that is exactly who I am documenting and exposing and prosecuting, as the people of the state are engaging in the pattern of conduct. So it is currently 7:54 p.m. And I just want to go over some of the highlights regarding what it is that I've been documenting. And again, might be mindful that I am the documentation, the prosecution of the state of California, it is an onerous task. Okay. I don't have an assistant. I don't have anyone that is being targeted along with me. I am being targeted by myself. I am being targeted by everyone. So I am also the only person that is capable of enforcing my rights. So I am subject to the system that I am exposing and prosecuting by my documentation. So I'm stating all that because I am at the same time subject to the system, but I am also clearly the entity's, Satan's intent was to utterly destroy your mind, your life. Okay, this is not happening, obviously. A lot of the time I'm spending documenting and organizing my documentation, publishing it in order that it could be organized so that I want other people to be able to look at it and learn from it. It is literally a testimony, while it is also literally a body of work to prosecute the state of California. So the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct, while a lot of times I am in my hotel room. For example, I was at Woodside Senior Apartments, the apartment complex, and I'm wearing headphones. So understand that a lot of the demon's ongoing effort to harass, which is what Satan wants to do. If you're wearing headphones, then you can't hear the amplification. It's really pathetic what Satan. It's very pathetic. Okay, the entity engages in amplified audible activity, ongoing stalking, terrorizing with light. Yes. Okay. It's demonic. It's very sick. It's depraved. It's out of the pit of hell. Okay. But I want to be clear, it's pathetic. It's literally at this point when I'm exposing it, I'm prosecuting it, I'm blowing the whistle, I'm literally showing, oh, look, Satan's doing this. Oh, look, Satan's doing that. Oh, look, Satan's doing this and Satan is doing that because this is what I was doing and I was doing this on my phone. And so Satan did that. That's essentially what the documentation is showing. And this is not existing solely in someone's imagination. This is actually criminal conduct that is tangible evidence that's going to be submitted in the court. It is the criminal conduct of the government. It's also pathetic at the same time. Okay. People should have their own lives. They should have things that they should be consumed with. And it should not include my genitalia. It should not include my physical movement when I'm waking, when I'm sleeping, when I'm brushing my teeth, what time it is that I get up and brush my teeth, which the demons are consumed with. Okay. It's very pathetic. In addition to that, every minute move that I make, a demon is stalking and making some sort of noise to that. Understand how you have absolutely no existence whatsoever when you are at that level of devotion to group stalking another person. And what am I exposing? I'm exposing that a government is engaging in that. And that is not within the imagination. It is supported through years of evidence of things that I cannot unilaterally control. I can't control these circumstances of stalking in helicopters. I can't control the circumstances of criminal summoning. I don't control the circumstances of an entirely fake environment. That's not the sun that would stay over one building for 11 to 12 hours. I don't control these things. I don't make that light riddle rain all the way down across buildings. That's entirely demonic. And then understand, I've been so accustomed to it. I've been documenting it. It's systematic. You can witness my documentation as I'm just rattling off what the entity is doing. And because I'm subject to such a massive offense, I do run through a lot of information at one time. And that's just the nature of what it is that I'm confronting and exposing. However, it's pathetic. Okay. So it's pathetic that boys and girls, supposedly men and women, are engaging in that. They're outside driving in traffic. And do you understand that the traffic is about me? That's entirely pathetic that a whole society has together agreed that they don't matter, I matter. That's literally what the demons have conceded. And it's sad that they are so mentally ill, they don't even recognize the level of depravity that they have sunk into, that Satan has dragged them. And not only that, Satan, who is not going to help the state of California when they are faced with criminal behaviors, that they'll be prosecuted with labels that they will never escape, including sex offender, okay, including terrorist. All right, the entity is engaging in criminal conduct, and they're going to be subject to what are convictions, which will be the evidence of their mental illness. no sane person is group stalking. So the entity is engaging in this, and it is at the same time very pathetic. And that's exactly how I see this, how I view this. And it's also pathetic that people, governments, societies engage in this against one person. It is absurdly pathetic, but it's also wildly criminal that the government bullies people like this. And it happens in a bubble where nobody knows about it. And the ordinary person is subject to it, is defenseless, is reasonably overwhelmed, and subject to a system that's designed. It's supposed to result in your mind dissolving. Okay, you're questioning everything, your own sanity, whether you should live your life anymore. What should I do? Should I just toss myself off of the cliff? I should just drive into the brick wall. These are the things that Satan fantasizes, wishes, prays that I would. It was never going to happen. I'm speaking on behalf of the ordinary target individual. I understand their experience because I have been placed in this position in order to speak on their behalf, in order to prosecute this corrupt government. That's why this is happening to me. And I do find it pathetic. So I'm not going to mince words with that either. Okay. The entity is engaging in this conduct, and sex offenders. WYNDHAM is a sex offender. These corrupt companies and the government itself is a sex offender. And these are notions under the law that shall be recognized. And this is based on the criminal conduct that the government is engaging in, and the personality that is attributed to companies, the personality that's attributed to the environment, because it's demonic. Okay. The fake sun literally moves as I move. Okay. This is an environment that is, takes on what is legally relevant. So you will go from what is being supposedly a legitimate business. And the moment that I am in the neighborhood, you are no longer engaging in anything lawful or private. You are in a facilitating venue and relevant position, and you are engaged in criminal surveillance based on what the state is engaging in, and it's demonic. And so the entity is surrounded with a pattern of conduct that is going to be used to prosecute them, where that pattern of conduct was never supposed to be suspected, exposed. It was literally supposed to solely exist in the imagination of the one struggling to articulate what they're subject to. Okay, understand the malice in that. It's really unfair to the ordinary target individual. All right, so the entity is engaging in that, and so this is for the prosecution of the neighborhood, if you will. The neighborhood is who? The neighborhood is the entire state of California. And so I'm in a different neighborhood, but I've been near this neighborhood before, because that fake sun that was over, that you saw on video, that was over the La Quinta Inn, that's nowhere over the building, the hotel, rising in alignment, and still there, setting in alignment to my hotel room at Holiday Inn. But nonetheless, again, these are the idiots that bully defenseless, targeted individuals that are not in the same position as I am. And I recognize that. Okay. That's why I go to the degree to make sure you understand that these are sex offenders, violent sex offenders who have no business around children. They have no business in law enforcement. They have no business in the legal profession. They have no business in the medical profession. They have no business flying planes, having pilot licenses, for all the ways in which sex offenders, stalkers, terrorists are engaging in this pattern of conduct, is speaking to and informing the ways in which such criminals will be barred from those aspects of life in society for the protection of the public. So the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct. And again, I want to reiterate how pathetic it is. I do want to go over many of the things that I documented today, which is, again, companies will be prosecuted. They're treated as persons under the law. And these persons are maliciously engaging in and facilitating a criminal system by the government that is designed to result in the murder and kidnapping of an American citizen. And such malicious corporate actors such as WYNDHAM, they're going to be criminally and civilly prosecuted, treated as persons under the law, persons who are violent sex offenders, perpetual sex offenders, in fact, treated as persons under the law who are domestic terrorists and who engage in more sexual violence and engage in more terrorism as their criminal conduct, which they are aware of every step of the way that it's being documented, because these corrupt persons under the law, commercial actors such as WYNDHAM, are engaged in federal stalking in violation of Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. They're also engaged in what is an exceedingly egregious criminal act, which is facilitating the rest of the population to act in concert with the state in the criminal conspiracy to murder or kidnap someone. And that is through things that I'm documenting, such as the amplification of audible activity. A demon on surveillance camera at what is 8:03 p.m. is group stalking me, not going anywhere. They're group stalking me like they've been doing. And by the way, while they do so, there's no earthquake that's going to result. You can barely even hear it. However, there's earthquakes happening in my hotel room while demons are doing the exact same thing. That's the sex offender. That is going to federal prison. And I don't have to run out and get that demon's name right now. It's all going to come to me and at their federal prosecution. Nonetheless, the entity is engaging in what is audible activity creation. They're doing that very conduct, walking in and out of their hotel rooms, or at the very least opening and closing their doors with simultaneity to what it is that I'm physically doing, while they have no life of their own, no business of their own. And so it is my business to put such sex offending terrorists in cages, because that's where animals belong. Okay, animals that are unkempt, animals that are very dangerous, and that's what demons are. That's what the people of the state are. Okay, the entity is engaging in the pattern of conduct. Who is the people of the state? The people of the state is the state of California, and this is recognizing what's going to be appreciated under federal law. The fact that public entities can and are engaging in sexual violence. Accordingly, a public entity shall be prosecuted as a sex offender. The public entity has been engaging in what is abusing its power, doing so maliciously through a population that it's hiding behind, while engaging in what is massive sexual violence and terrorism, kidnapping and murder, while abusing their position and masquerading as having authority under the law, wearing a mask, and then turning around before the masses who are ignorant about the malice and the criminality and their Satan-serving ways, and then presenting themselves to the public, to the world, as though they are some authoritative, noble, honorable actor, and they're not. Could not be farther from the truth. And that goes for government actors that are in positions where you are facilitating. And let me be clear, you are facilitating federal group stalking and monitoring where it is happening amongst the population that you have any authority over, such as a mayor, such as a city councilman. It's the same with regard to having any position of authority. The population, these corrupt departments, are not engaging in a pattern of conduct that is very specific, and everyone is ignorant about that department's pattern of conduct. The pattern of conduct is very specific, and demons are acting in packs. The pattern of conduct is requiring cooperative behaviors. You do not have a pattern of conduct to that degree where the head of the department is ignorant, nor will you remain as the head of the department, and you can deny all you want. The criminal system, you're going to be prosecuted, and you're not going to hold that position. You're gone, period. But I'm just applying logic to what the facts establish based on what I originally contended. I told you what I was going to tell. I told you what I was going to tell you. I told you, and now I'm telling you what I told you. All right. The facts already prove that the state is a group stalker. California's group stalking, criminal surveillance. And if you did not gather that yet, the United States is engaged in surveillance. You do not actually have privacy. And it's a satanic system of surveillance. You are not surrounded by a natural environment. As you see me and witness what is a light source that I refer to as the fake sun, for example, and then all of that behavior that's occurring in that environment. But the light source, which is supposed to be the natural environment that no one is paying attention to, it's not a natural environment. And that's also not a natural environment over you. Okay, we can reason through all of this together. The evidence that I have to prosecute the state of California is at the same time informing you about what you are subject to. And it is criminal surveillance. Why? Because in the United States, we have a constitution that to date still matters. Okay, we have not yet gotten to the point to where the Constitution is going to be trampled over, and officially, because that's what's happened, unbeknownst to us. Okay, but it has not been explicitly just disregarded, and we have not yet been told, okay, you don't have any constitutional rights, you don't have any Fourth Amendment rights, and we're getting to that point in history, but we're not there yet, and it is criminal surveillance that the United States is engaging in. And it's demonic, meaning it's malicious, and it's happening in the environment that you're not supposed to be aware of. It's happening amongst what are the demon possessed who are engaging in behaviors that are serving to monitor you. It's integral with regard to the behaviors in that engineered light. It's not sunlight, and it's not the sun. It's also not normal conduct what the people in that environment are doing. And they're demons right in front of your face, okay? They're demons that engage in the ongoing pattern of conduct. And this is a demon that's on camera, opening and closing their doors at 8:08, opening and closing repeatedly as I ball my fist together, and as I am moving my arm on my bed. And those are the sex offenders that are going to federal prison. While they engage in what is the provision of evidence, and then this is again the lesser of evils, they're fearful of the things that I'm speaking of, and they would rather me speak about the fact that they're sex offenders. Every single last one of them are going to federal prison. Their lives are going to be dissected and neutralized of all the threats that they pose to the public. And they would rather that, which is horrible, than me continue to speak about the greater implications regarding this system that the state is engaging in. That's, again, pathetic. They're closing a door and it's not even about them. It's about me. And that's exactly my point. The entity is engaging in a satanic system in the U.S. And this is what a corporate actor such as WYNDHAM is engaging in. WYNDHAM is a sex offender based on the ways in which a public entity is engaging in criminal surveillance. This is going to be appreciated under federal law. Corporate actors, companies are treated as persons under the law anyway. So this is right in conformity to that, because these persons, these corrupt persons, these companies, they're engaging in sexual violence. They're engaging in group stalking, which is criminal surveillance, criminal activity. While they are conducting themselves as legitimate businesses, it is as illegitimate as funneling money, engaging in what is sex trafficking, while you are extending yourself out as just a mere nail salon. No, you're not. You're funneling in drugs. You're trafficking drugs. That's the part that is criminal. And that's, by the way, the part that matters. That's why you're going to be criminally prosecuted. It's the same thing with regard to federal group stalking and monitoring. The entire state of California is engaged in what is this capitalistic means of criminal surveillance. All right. The entity is doing so with regard to targeting me, and my documentation is speaking to a criminal prosecution of sex offenders like the demons in rooms 306, 307, 308. Excuse me, I'm in 306, 307, 309, and 310. Those that are in my immediate environment on the third floor. Do not miss the fact that the rest of the demons, the entire hotel, and everybody else on the third floor is engaged in group stalking. They are all sex offenders. The pattern of conduct is such that the demons are maintaining heavy duty presence. They are never ceasing to maintain presence in the path, to my left, to my right, above me, and beneath me. All angles. So that is speaking by default. The demons in all those surrounding rooms are going to federal prison. Okay. A door closure again as I snap my fingers at 8:10 p.m. The demons are engaging in what is revealing the fact that they're violent sex offenders, because they're doing the same thing when I pull my panties down. So you need to understand that, because that level of paying attention and monitoring someone, that's occurring when you're physically nude, when you're washing your body, and a psychopath, a population of them are pacing all around. Oh, she's nude. Oh, she's pulling her panties down. Oh, she's disposing. She's using the restroom. In other words, you have to necessarily touch yourself. This sexual violence is being entertained in the minds of a bunch of demons. And then you're going to understand that sexual violence, which is inherent to an ongoing corporate invasion of privacy by demons who are criminally surveilling you for no legitimate reason. Okay, it's not like you concocted some scientific formula in order to solve some sort of mystery. And not that the government would have a right to do so still, but I'm just saying there is no basis for this ongoing interest, obsession rather, with a person like the government is engaging in. And you know why the government is engaging in? Because they are in fact demons. And this is based on, again, not natural knowledge. There's no relationship with me amongst the government. I don't call anybody. I don't have any congressional, people in Congress. I don't know any of the people in the government. I don't know any of these officers. I don't know any of these deputies. I don't have some long history with regard to criminal conduct. I don't know any of these sex offenders coming in and out of the hotel who are engaged in group stalking. You know how they know me? Because they're demons. This is spiritual in nature. It is demonic activity. Satan is real. You do have the enemy of your soul who knows who you are, who studies you. And if you are not in his camp, you are a threat. You are an enemy. So it is an admission to being demon possessed while I'm exposing the secret system that the state of California is engaging in. And it's telling everyone's secret throughout the entire state of California. I don't have to go up to San Francisco. I don't have to go out to Modesto. I don't have to go out to San Joaquin. I don't have to do that. It's the pattern of conduct. The entity is keeping a fake sun over the hotel building as though no other place in California experiences the sun over their sky space. And that's clearly, we all know that that's not logical, but it's proven by the evidence. And that is showing you what everyone else is doing. They're group stalkers. And everywhere that I go, the entire state is group stalking as I limit the prosecution to the state. I've gone outside of state lines and shown you, oh, they're group stalking in Nevada as well. Clinically, that's referred to as a pattern between California and Nevada. You know what's going on in the rest of the country as well. You can apply the same analysis as you would with regard to analyzing, establishing a pattern of conduct with regard to traditional stalking. This is group stalking practiced by an entity, and I've shown a pattern amongst two entities, the state of Nevada and the state of California. Nevertheless, the entities engaging in what is proving to be sex offenders. The public entity is a sex offender that is group stalking. Corporate actors, companies are sex offenders as they're group stalking. The very people of the state who will be sliced down and individualized only at federal prosecution because they act as one entity. All of the entity may act through one demon-possessed person. And one demon-possessed person speaks and acts on behalf of the state, the entity. That's what gang stalking, group stalking is. And you're going to use that malice to prosecute that monster. Okay? The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct and is admittedly engaging in what is sexual violence. These demons that are inside of rooms 306, 307, 309, and 310, that's on both my left and right side and in front of me. And in room 206, 207, 208, 209, and 210, that is beneath me. And it's the same with regard to 106, 107, 108, 109, and 110 on the first floor. And then the demons, who are the people of the state, are admittedly sex offenders while traffic is amplified inside of the hotel room. They're also engaged in what is stalking, group stalking, as I'm physically nude, as my genitalia is exposed, and they're interested in the moment when I'm pulling my panties down and what's going on with my genitalia when my panties are down. The reason why I'm going through this is because you need to understand the sex offender that are the demon possessed who are group stalking. It is not because I take pleasure in getting so graphic. You need to understand that's their mindset. That's actually what they're doing. When you're group stalking as I move my pinky, they're group stalking when my panties are going down. So that's a sex offender who has no business around children, by the way, let alone elderly people that can't fend or speak for themselves, let alone working amongst children, working amongst the public, all the ways in which the demon possessed are going to be removed from areas in society where they pose a threat, the threat that I'm exposing while they're group stalking. So the entities engage in this pattern of conduct. And again, I want to speak to, it's all happening on WYNDHAM's watch. WYNDHAM is going to be prosecuted for civil and criminal prosecution for harassment and terrorism by an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. WYNDHAM is literally the specific environment and is engaging in a perpetual sex offense by an entity in the private space. Inherent to a pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring is corporate invasion of privacy. This is a sex offense that is of epic proportions, that which has never been legislated before. There is no language to express the level of sexual violence that a public entity is engaging in when it's criminally surveilling you with a population. That is, everyone is aware of what you're doing as you're doing it, as opposed to a peeping Tom, not just one person, not just one group at that hotel, which is that's a sexual violence as well. That's also sick. The entity is engaging in what is sexual violence to a degree that has never been legislated before, never been recognized. And this is the fact of federal group stalking and monitoring. And WYNDHAM is going to compensate for the harms related to tangible and intangible to the sexual violence that the demon possessed are admittedly engaging in while they're stalking, using hotel room doors to engage in stalking with audible activity. The entity is doing so with regard to the amplification of traffic. The entity is doing so with the ongoing terrorism via impossible light activity, which you saw on video in the hallway. With the presence of the fake sun, they are admittedly engaging in what is the sex offense of the perpetual sex offense of federal group stalking and monitoring, admittedly engaging in corporate invasion of privacy, because that specific environment is there for that criminal engagement of that pattern of conduct, and it is intentionally there for that criminal purpose. That's why that scientific phenomenon is existing, which you must document in order to prove, in fact, that Satan is lying. Satan, who am I referencing? The demon-possessed state of California. They're a bunch of demons who are group stalking. It's demonic activity, the criminalization of demonic activity. So this is revealing the mental illness who are the group stalkers. The mental illness of those who are group stalking. And the entity is exceedingly hostile while their mental illness is exposed. And the entity sought to criminally defame that target individual. This is what the government is typically engaging in and achieving. That's why the prosecution, amongst other reasons, that's why the prosecution and the conviction and the punishment, the penalties for engaging in this pattern of conduct with all of a population and all of its corporate means and resources is so great, is so intense, is so expensive. All right, it's for deterrence. It's to disincentivize That's necessary and important with regard to public policy. I mean, everybody else with regard to in this country and around the world, witnessing the statement that is necessarily made in response to public corruption by, unfortunately, those that are in this country. America's response to domestic terrorism. And it must be an unmistakable and clear response of absolute, intolerable conduct that is met with severe consequences, and nothing less than that. And that is including the ultimate statement, which again I find to be very powerful. Those that have been granted the privilege, because we are known as a melting pot, and group stalking is so popular, the entire state is group stalking, and you've been granted the privilege to be here. You make a decision about your future, because you have therefore. You've literally your citizenship, your naturalization, your placement, the privilege has been revoked. And that's, again, going to be a matter of federal policy. That's going to be something that is serving as a deterrent. You want to lose your citizenship when you engage in group stalking, because that's exactly what's going to happen. All right. And by the way, it will do wonders for all of these so-called, and I want to say so-called because a lot of the issues with the economy and the immigration system, these are manufactured issues. You have massive public corruption that is not being addressed. So when many of these domestic terrorists are deported back to wherever they came from, it's going to do wonders with regard to the jobs, and wonders with regard to the so-called crisis regarding immigration, regarding the housing situation. And that's just built into many of these homemade resolutions with regard to easing the problem of what is public corruption, massive public corruption, because it's literally affecting every aspect of the government. A lot of these people, the state of California, were draining the welfare system, for example. And guess what? A large portion of them are group stalking. A lot of them. You can get rid of probably 50% of them. And that's justice. Okay, that's doing America a favor. America is not welcoming terrorism, even though America's own government is engaging in it. But America's going to deal with that. We will deal with our own. Those that have been given the privilege, you're out of here. You're out of here. We're not going to negotiate with some foreign made terrorists. You can go right back to where you came from. You have demonstrated your unworthiness to be in this country. Okay, and the corrupt government is not going to help you. They cannot help you. All right, so the entities engage in this pattern of conduct, and they're doing so with regard to malice and impunity. So I want to go through now on my phone, because I'm making extensive notes in the document entitled La Quinta-the People. This is speaking to the ongoing terrorism. Terrorism is occurring through amplified audible activity, which is occurring for the criminal purpose of monitoring you, to keep you under surveillance, in other words, through a population of people in a very specific environment that is terrorizing. All of this is relevant to not only the criminal system of group stalking by the state, but also that which is psychologically harmful, as the target individual is mindful of what they are subject to and all of the countless, numerous amount of people who are engaging in it. Okay, this is something that's intimidating. This is something that's overwhelming. This is something that inflicts that psychological harm. Okay, and while demons are foolishly engaging in it against me, the one that's literally prosecuting them, I welcome it, because I look forward to putting out as many people out of this country as possible, putting as many people in federal prison as possible, labeling as many people as domestic terrorists as possible, because you know why? And not falsely, those that are engaged in that criminal pattern of conduct, you don't just go around labeling people criminals that didn't commit a crime. This is a pattern of conduct that's established, and they are indeed engaging in this criminal system, and it's been going on for a very long time. A lot of people have lost their lives, American citizens who are dead now. And the entity is also engaging what is sacrificing each other. These demons, they're out here killing each other in the streets. So this is something that needs to happen. And it's for the benefit of the public. And I look forward to that measure of justice. I do look forward to it. All right. It needs to happen for everyone's safety. The more you are aware about sex offenders in your neighborhood, about sex offenders applying for a job where it is that you work, the safer you will feel. But again, you don't put your trust in man. You put your trust in the Lord Jesus. That's literally that's what I do. And that's what I recommend you do. If you don't know the Lord Jesus as your Lord and Savior in a personal relationship, believing that he came to earth and he walked this earth and he died on the cross for your sins. He was sinless. He committed no sins. He died for the sins of others, living a perfect life. And he did that out of love, sacrificial love that man cannot comprehend. But it is the purpose of those who know the Lord Jesus Christ to walk in that love, agape love, in service to others, not attacking others. This is in service to Satan, what the Lord Jesus is exposing. All right. It is literally the works of the wicked. And unfortunately, it's the American government. But that is also not a surprise. And this is not inspiring or advocating for anarchy either, because that's not the Lord's will either. Government, an orderly society, rules and policies are perfectly pleasing. I love them. That's why I went to law school. But these are good things. But public corruption, a corrupt government, that's to the demise of everyone. And it's also to the demise of our country, by the way, because other countries are looking at us. And if you think that we're not going to reap what we're sowing right now, you are sorely mistaken. Because what the entity is doing to American citizens like myself, they're doing it in other countries. And we are going to reap what we sow, even as I am not a terrorist. But because I'm an American citizen, I too, on this land, I'm going to reap what this country has sown. All right. But like I said, you trust in the Lord because I believe that he's going to be watching over me, So I'm going to digress from that. But the entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct, and I want to go over what the entity has been engaging in. Again, the demons that are surrounding in the immediate environment who are going to federal prison. And remember, the faces are vacillating on an ongoing basis, but the rooms remain the same. Its relevant position is criminal presence. And that these are the demons in room 106. 107, room 108, 109, 10, and 110, 206, 207, 208, 209, and 210, 306, 307, 309, and 310. And that's just, again, everyone directly beneath me and to both sides of me and in front of me. They are maintaining obsessive presence in the path through both the demons that are checking the rooms out and the demons that call themselves housekeeping. And all they're doing is group stalking. And this is on a 24-hour basis, and that it never ceases to be the case. This obsession is exhibited through the relevant positioning. This obsession is exhibited through the fake sun over the environment, over the building. This obsession is exhibited through the amplified audible activity of all manner, which I'm also documenting on this document entitled La Quinta. And it's also with regard to the appreciation and understanding the minute. And by minute, I mean the minutia, the detailed group stalking conduct that demons are engaging in. I mean, it's very detailed. Every little move, amplified audible activity. Literally, the demons are stepping on the gas and the rate at which they're accelerating. That acceleration, or the rising in acceleration or lessening in acceleration, it's based on what I physically do. That's entirely psychotic to have that level of affect on the demons around me who are targeting me. And that's somebody that's outside on the road, outside of the building. That's psychotic, but that's the reality. And you need to know that. Because demon possession is real. And by the way, in 2024, it's not an exception. It's not just happening in scary movies. This is a lot of people that Satan has control over. And this is also the reason why the Lord Jesus is revealing this, because it's to your benefit that you are aware of what is very, very common. There are more people who are lost in darkness than there are who are not. That does not equal a majority. However, again, this testimony, the prosecution of the state speaking to the majority equals me plus the Lord Jesus Christ. That's the majority. Satan, who is not omnipotent, not omnipresent, relies on a whole statewide full of his demons, and he still does not win. In any regard whatsoever, and any and everything that the Lord permits, including this system for me to be subject to it, is for my benefit. It's for my ability to speak to what other people are subject to. All right, for justice to be done, for what's done in the darkness to come to light. It all serves a purpose, a greater purpose that is within his will. Scripture says that all things work for the good of those who love him and who have been called according to his purposes. There is a grand scheme to things, but not for those who are in darkness, not for those who follow the liar, the father of lies. They're literally dizzy, and it's sad, but they're literally pacing around me, and this is literally their life. They're just dizzy demons, pointless in their existence, and then they die. There's the judgment, and they're going to burn in hell if they do not repent. But that's the pointlessness of the existence of those who are in darkness, and it's getting worse, and it's going to continue to get worse, and the ongoing plummeting to the depths of darkness will continue. And that's why it's being exposed what the government is doing and who the government is doing it with and who is actually the government. As you are training, and we are conditioned to believe, and actually this is the reality, but the government that's engaging in what is a demonic system with regard to prosecuting it, the government is actually everybody that's around you, because the government is hiding behind those constituents of the state. And so this is placing a company such as WYNDHAM. That's the state. The WYNDHAM is not operating as a private company. WYNDHAM is the state. And why? Because the state is engaged in group stalking, as is already established. They're group stalking in planes and helicopters. They're group stalking using their police, fire, and ambulance vehicles. The state's pattern of conduct, the state engaging the P.O.C. has been long established. The state is group stalking with the people. Okay? The state is relying on the people. The state is engaging in the same exact pattern of conduct that these demons in all of these rooms that I just numbered are engaging in. It's not just these numbers, by the way, it's the whole hotel. But just to give you an example, these demons are stalking with a hotel room closure. The demons are sounding helicopter activity, sounding their sirens pursuant to the same exact demonic behavioral pattern in the same environment, maintaining the same criminal system. So who is the state? The state is literally the people, and that's exactly how they're going to be prosecuted. Because that's what the government is doing, and it's supposed to be malicious, and you're never supposed to be able to recognize that. And the entity is engaged in conduct that it never actually fathomed would be capable of being enveloped within a legal framework in order to prosecute that. And I know that. Satan didn't expect that. All right. But again, Satan is not the omnipotent ruler. He's not the equal opposite of God. He is beneath God. He's already been defeated. That's what Christ accomplished on the cross. Death has already been defeated. And it is the same for any of those who are children of the Lord Jesus Christ. So this is something that is not to incite fear. And though you are empowered, because the Lord Jesus is telling, especially to anyone that'll hear, but specifically to those who belong to him, you need to know what's going on. You need to know what's going on in this country and what's going on in the world. But you need to know what Satan is doing and how Satan is doing. And it's very malicious. But as you pointed out, as I'm showing you the system, it's not sophisticated. You do not need to be a licensed attorney. OK, like I went to law school. You don't need to have that. You don't have to pass California bar. OK, you do not need that. We can all tell that that's not the sun that will be over one building all day long. A third and fourth grader knows that. This is not rocket science. You know that sunlight's not ricocheting off of a car into the third floor of a building and ricocheting on the walls inside of a hallway. You're witnessing demonic activity exposed, things that you perhaps didn't notice. And all I'm doing is I'm illuminating. You see that? You see it for yourself. I'm just pointing it out to you. And this is how they're doing it. And this is a threat to your life, because they seek to try to defame you, make you look like you're crazy because you don't have this evidence. You're not aware of what they're doing and how they do it. And you don't know that they're all demons. You need to know that. So the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct. And so I just want to go through the things that I'm documenting, which is going toward the prosecution of the state of California. Specifically, I'm going to prosecute WYNDHAM, who is engaging in what is ongoing stalking with activity creation. And WYNDHAM is, while it's patrons are engaging in group stalking with it, the employees are group stalking. The demons, who are the people of the state and the state, are coming onto the property group stalking. The entity is group stalking in the sky space. All of that pattern of conduct is already established, what the entity is doing and all the ways it's doing it. And it is also doing it while the demons are pacing all around the property in all manner of amplifications, criminal conduct. None of it is free. And also, none of it's free conduct. That's what I mean. None of it is, it's also not free because, yes, it will cost them. So I guess in both ways, in both senses, it applies. But none of it is free, protected conduct, and nor is any of it just random. So you're documenting criminal conduct. What you're hearing, the entity is engaged, the demons are engaging in audible activity, light activity, and maintaining presence all around you, referred to as relevant positioning. They do so in ways that are clearly unnatural. The sound of traffic. Okay, well, you know that traffic is not going to be heard inside of the hotel room, in the same way that traffic on the street is not the cause for light ricocheting in the hallway. In the same way that the sun cannot possibly be over Alvarado Gardens in Los Angeles, over the top of my head, seen through my leasing office window, while it's seen clearly outside of the window of the La Quinta Inn in Hesperia, California, where I've been for the first time ever in my life. All right. This is common sense. All right. So all I did with an organized legal mindset as I just lay that evidence out for you. Okay, while the entity is engaging, that's all I did. Okay, so so the entity is engaging in what is also demonic. Okay, so yes, I am also pointing out, not only is this unnatural, let me give you the word for that. The word for that unnatural, the word for that impossible is demonic. This is demonic. With regard to the fact that the state is engaged in group stalking, this now becomes what is a prosecution for public corruption. The government is holding hands with the very people to engage in egregious criminal conduct, trying to murder and kidnap people, and then control the narrative after that is accomplished. That is intolerable criminal conduct and malice exhibited by an entity. And it calls for nothing less than a large amount of public officials to be removed from the positions, many to also be literally prosecuted, and also to be permanently removed from the positions that they hold and that field, not to be able to move from California and then go to Wisconsin and start over as a council member. That's unacceptable. What you are doing in violation of the law here in California, you shall not go to any other state in the jurisdiction of the U.S. and engage in again, never having the opportunity to do it again. You're not going to leave as the chief of police in Los Angeles and then go to some other state and resume that position as any role in law enforcement. That's not what's going to happen. No, this is being exposed because you are done posing this sort of threat to people. You will be publicly and permanently removed and no longer able to threaten the lives of American citizens in that way. In the same way, the entity seeks to permanently augment the lives, if not end altogether, the lives of American citizens, innocent American citizens. And you are innocent insofar as the government has no right to criminally surveil you. All right. So I just want to go through that, and I just want to speak to what the entity is engaging in. And so ongoing amplification of the sex offenders who are the people of the state on the roads and the highways. I read some of their license plates today. And those license plates, again, never do they cease to be up for federal prison. Don't ever forget that. Second of all, they represent the entity that is still engaging in 24-hour surveillance. I just happened to be outside and read many of their license plates. That is the entire state that's engaging in an ongoing sex offense, keeping a single woman under surveillance in a hotel room. And they're also sex offenders because while I'm typing that out silently inside of my hotel room, then all of a sudden, the ongoing pounding heard through the hotel room wall, which being a normal person, the ordinary target individual is going to document that conduct, which is terrorism. How is it terrorism? Because in the specific environment, it's achieving audible activity while someone is necessarily in relevant position, in concert with a whole bunch of other somebodies, okay, on behalf of the state, which is accomplishing monitoring. They're monitoring you while you are silently typing something on your phone. And that is going to be naturally a normal person who's not demon possessed, who's not hallucinating, will attribute what is pounding through the wall to the demon that's in relevant position in room 310. And that's exactly what's going to happen. And that demon's going to federal prison. And the next demon that checks in that room, they're going to federal prison. And the next demon after that checks in, they're going to federal prison. Based on the obsession by an entity that is unlawful. And the entity is engaging in that obsession by sending in one demon after another, and every single last one of them will be punished. All right, so that's an example of what actually happened, by the way. The entity is amplifying traffic. The people of the state are sex offenders. All right, and the people of the state are outwardly extending themselves to the public as, oh, come to California, come to Los Angeles. This is the place to vacation. The ordinary Starbucks commercial, fun in the sun and sunglasses and lowriders and miniskirts and, braids, whatever it is that they're some sort of cool culture in California. These are demons. And they're engaging in what is criminal conduct, trying to sacrifice people in the state of California. This is what the government is engaging in, and acting through commercial actors such as Starbucks. And these people are engaging in what is sexual violence by one, and then they are turning around and talking about how great it is in California, how you should come and vacation here, move here, live here, work here. No, you shouldn't. Okay. Now, let me be clear. Satan's not only in California. But Satan is a liar, okay? The father of lies, and Satan has a full chokehold on the people in this state. And they are sex offenders, okay? And they are going home to their families. While they're engaging in terrorism throughout the day, they go right to work on their lunch break, group stalking somebody, being a sex offender, and then they go back to work, okay? And then they go back, they go pick up their kids from daycare, and then they go home with that same sex offender. This is, again, the mind that is so mentally disturbed to engage in that, the compartmentalization that's required to do that, the delusion in order to engage in that is boggling.
Okay. No, I am not a specialist to the degree where you're diagnosing to that level, but I am exposing it so that those who are professionals in that field can analyze that, because that's all I'm doing is speaking to it, and I don't have to be a professional, a medical professional, to identify it. I know enough to expose it. I know the criminal pattern of conduct that they're engaging in, and that is not normal. And what is necessary to engage in that level of compartmentalizing what it is that you want to be seen as in public and what it is that you're actually doing in the dark that you don't want anyone to know about. To practice that, to hold hands as a society to do that, you're talking about a large population that is mentally ill. That is what is ordinarily referred to as psychotic, psychopathic, generally speaking. And the ordinary professional will never admit to that. Oh, they'll never admit to it. But you don't have to have Satan concede to what you know. You can look at the specific environment, the criminal pattern of conduct. The evidence speaks for itself. Nobody is group stalking but a demon-possessed person. Nobody. Let me be clear. The only way I am monitoring. You want to know how I'm monitoring? I'm monitoring myself with regard to I'm being molested with engineered light. So as I move my arms around, as I speak, I'm creating light activity, and the demons that are in relevant position are monitoring me as I create activity in the environment that they're stalking me in. That's the only way that I'm monitoring. There are no demons on me. Satan cannot have me, and Satan knows that. That's why he's targeting me through the state of California. But that's the only way in which I'm monitoring, okay? The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct which is designed to psychologically harm, and it is sexually violent, and all that pattern of conduct is exposing sexual violence of epic proportions, that which has never been legislated under federal law. The government can and will be prosecuted as a sex offender. The government can and will be prosecuted as a domestic terrorist. And so can and will companies. By company name: Amazon Prime, sex offender; Amazon Prime, domestic terrorist. Engaging in literal criminal conduct under existing federal statutes, such as Title 18, Section 22618, subsections 1 and 2. Amazon, the company, criminally prosecuted for federal stalking. That's how that's going to work, because that's literally what the state of California is doing with the people of the state, who use and employ their businesses, just like WYNDHAM, to engage in the pattern of conduct. They're making money while demons are staying in their hotel rooms, and demons are pacing around their hotel, which is the specific environment. And WYNDHAM will be held civilly and criminally liable for what the demons are doing all around their hotel, because they're acting in relevant position in the specific environment together. And that's how you have the implosion, the expiration date of federal group stalking and monitoring, because people are going to learn. Everybody else that's going to witness what California is going to go through, everybody's going to witness you have some real decisions to make, some serious decisions to make. You want to lose your citizenship? You want to lose all of your fortune? You want to lose your business, your reputation? You go right ahead, but you will lose it. You're losing it. So the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and so I want to speak to what the entity has been inflicting while I'm inside of my hotel room. Okay. And so amplified audible activity, this is heard, typically the amplified traffic. If I can stand outside and use my phone to document and you can hear my voice, I'm not inundated with traffic that's so loud that you can't hear me speaking, that I have to start yelling, that I can't even function because it's so loud. Because this is the case when it's amplified inside of the hotel room. All right, that same absence of logic by demons who are just obsessed and who also have never been held accountable for their demonic behaviors. Because you could tell it's clearly not intellectual, it's not intelligent. It's just demonic. It's not smart. It's as stupid and foolish as keeping a fake sun over a building all day long. That's how smart the demons are. Not very bright. Okay? And that does not change with education level. It doesn't. I don't care how many years of graduate school, they're all the same idiots stalking under a fake sun. They're all the same idiots monitoring evidence and continuously engaging in that criminal conduct that you're going to be prosecuted for. If the person in line in front of you, you see them getting pummeled down by the feds, getting arrested and being taken off to jail for engaging in what is stealing that candy bar from the grocery store. Okay. It happens to be a very important candy bar, and you cannot engage in stealing that candy bar without going to federal prison. And the person in line behind that defendant goes right on and does the same exact thing. That's a fool. Okay. That's what the people of the state and the state of California is. That's what they're doing it over and over and over again. I'm not making it up. It's the evidence. The P.O.C has the evidence. The entity is engaged in monitoring evidence and continuously engaging in that. And that's the level of fools that I am confronting who are engaging in group stalking. What does that mean? The entity is engaged in and has been engaged in abusing its power as a corrupt government, because you are clearly just silencing people. Because the ability for someone to communicate what they're subject to would not result in what is this system going on so long and it never being exposed, it never being spoken of. It being, you know how the entity gets rid of the people of the state who are speaking as the state, not as individuals. In other words, the First Amendment is not implicated under any circumstances. You're speaking as the state. You're not an individual exercising First Amendment rights. Okay, the state speech is using to engage in criminal defamation. Oh, this person is they're paranoid. Oh, they're crazy. Yeah, I heard she's like they're like a hooker. They can't even get a job. This is how the entity is engaging in what is just discarding someone that would contend that the entity, or they wouldn't use the terms that I've assigned in order to prosecute it. Okay, it wouldn't sound so official, but an ordinary person would be like, well, strangers are following me. The government, the police are stalking me. They'll say it's something like that. And that's how it's disregarded immediately, because the people of the state are instrumental to that criminal system. They're not intelligent. They are no formidable adversary whatsoever. Okay, it's the same Satan. That amplification is the admission that they know it. Okay, the entity is the one who is fearful of me. And why is that? Because the Holy Spirit that they recognize, and they came for the person that they will never silence. In fact, the more that the entity comes for me and attacks and tries to contend with me, the longer they're going to federal prison, the more severe their punishment is going to be. Much of it I have announced, but much of it they're going to learn about when they're suffering it, when they're sitting and subject to their prosecution. Okay, so the entity is engaging in that, and I want to be clear, that was at 8:44 p.m. amplification of audible activity, and that was again with simultaneity to my speaking of how unintelligent and how threatened and how inferior Satan is. And Satan knows that it's the truth. Satan is hoping that you don't know these spiritual truths. Okay, but and let me be clear, this is not to everyone. This is truth. You are empowered. Your foot is literally placed on the neck of Satan when you know the Lord Jesus as your Lord and Savior. You do not have that protection, that covering. You're not sealed with the Holy Spirit if you do not know him in a personal relationship. And that's literally, if you don't know him, he can't cover you. Okay? It's not like going to the Salvation Army and it's just, yes, he loves that way. His gift of salvation is free like that, like the Salvation Army. But if you don't know him, you don't benefit from it. Even if you try to invoke the name. The demons know that you don't have any power. That they know you don't have any authority. So this is a real necessity with regard to the love and the lordship of Jesus Christ. Okay, he is the only one providing that level of victory, triumphant victory over the enemy of your soul, of my soul, who would like to devour you, to tear you to pieces. All right, but he can't. He can't. And that infuriates him. And I want to be clear, that's a threat, because what I'm speaking of spiritually is translating into what is a threat in the natural, because these are demons that surround me and they're hostile. Their hostility is communicated through the amplification, just like you heard. That equals a federal prosecution. That hostility is communicated through the impossible light activity. That's a threat. That translates into a federal prosecution. So the entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct, and the entity is engaged in an ongoing, again, the inferiority, it's just ridiculous. The entity engages in an ongoing series of omissions while they stalk with activity creation based on, what I'm saying and what I'm doing. That's why you're stalking with activity. You don't have an ongoing talent as a population to just engage in ongoing activity, doing things, in other words, at the same time, every time, all of them, different faces, different places, and the ongoing pattern, there seems to be like a soundtrack with regard to what I do, including on communication devices. No, those are demons that are abiding by a pattern of conduct. And you know them not only by their deeds, but you know them by the demonic environment that they're stalking in. Okay? That's group stalking. So the ongoing amplification, it's 8:47 p.m. The people of the state are engaged in an ongoing obsessive endeavor of group stalking, and it is the commission of a sex offense that WYNDHAM is going to be prosecuted civilly and criminally for. And that is, again, sexual violence that corporate actors will compensate the targeted individual for engaging in and facilitating. Okay, the entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct, and I have documented it. And so it's currently, by the way, 8:47 p.m. I just want to go over what is the terrorism inside of the private space, which is this hotel room. Not only is the amplification built into what is an inherently threatening environment serving to criminally monitor me in concert with the government that engages in things such as kidnapping you and exercising fictitious authority while they're engaging in a criminal system designed to result in murdering you or kidnapping you for some manufactured criminal charges, manufactured mental illness. All right. So it's a real-time threat that the government is posing to your life and your liberty, as well as your well-being. And they do so while they are at every step of the way, keeping you under surveillance on the internet via communication devices. And so while I'm inside of this hotel room, which is a private space, I want to specifically document the terrorism while the demons were monitoring the 30... I uploaded approximately 38 videos up to the YouTube. This is video evidence. This is evidence against the public entity, and the public entity shall not engage in what is criminal surveillance of evidence at that is going to be used against them. And the state of California has been engaged in that criminal act for years, and that's not going to be missed at federal prosecution. It's a criminal act, and it's the impermissible threat posed by the state. You are not only engaged in criminal surveillance, you're also keeping that target individual who is documenting you. In other words, that's a communication to the threat. You better take a seat. You better take a seat. And federal law is that you shall cease. You have no business doing it in the first place, but under no circumstances will you continue to engage in that so as to communicate the highest threat, to communicate to the target individual that you don't have any rights. Your documentation, in other words, means nothing. And the state's going to continue to engage in this criminal act to accomplish murdering or kidnapping you, because that's exactly what you're doing when you're monitoring the evidence, which is the federal stalking conduct. The state of California has been engaged in that criminal act. In other words, as I have referred to it, the impermissible threat for years. Yes, you have a lot of people that are going to federal prison for a very long time. The entity engaged in kidnapping, imposing an impermissible threat. Those particular actors are facing disbanding. All right. But again, disbanding is not just going to be based on what is abusing your exercising fictitious authority. It's not abusing authority. The government that's engaged in criminal surveillance, it actually doesn't have any authority under the law. It actually doesn't. The entity is engaging in what is masquerading as though they have authority when they're actually engaging in surveillance. There's no authority for the government to keep us under surveillance, which is what they're doing. They happen to be engaging in criminally targeting me, and they did it to such a degree that I was able to create a whole body of evidence showing what is their pattern of conduct while the government is stalking me. All right. And that is established through evidence. And I am not the first person that's been subject to it. I am, however, the first person that's ever proven it to the degree to which it's also necessary under law beyond a reasonable doubt. There is so much evidence, years of it. And it is impossible that I would have that person representing myself, but it's impossible that any person would be able to have this much evidence for this prolonged period of time that is in conformity, all right, to the originally contended pattern of conduct. Okay. I said what I was going to tell you. I told you, and now I'm telling you what I told you I was going to tell you. And that's what the P.O.C. is. So it is evidence to support the very contention. The state is a group stalker, the state of California. It's a government system. It's an experiment on American people, citizens' lives, while they are in every way serving Satan in doing so. All right. The demons on the third floor on surveillance cameras, group stalking in the hallway as they're coming in and out of their rooms. They're engaged in what is entirely pathetic. They're admitted sex offenders whose identity is literally handed over while they are checking into rooms. But nonetheless, they're doing so while they're monitoring me. And that's revealing mental illness. They want to be looked at. Oh, I'm having a conversation. I'm having so much fun. Oh, I'm with my baby. I'm walking in and out. I'm with my date, my hot. They're group stalking a whole other person. It's about me. That's what's so psychotic. And that's what I mean by pathetic. Okay. I know if I were with a significant other, I would be consumed with my significant other and myself, not any other person, but not demons. And they are entirely pathetic because that's the reality that they don't want you to know about. It's very, very pathetic. All right. So anyway, I want to document some of this. This is the terrorism that I'm subject to inside of this hotel room. And it includes the sensational activity. This is the vibration, the shaking, the rumbling of the floor of the bed that I'm on. And this is as the demons in the rooms that I mentioned remain in relevant position. And this is also via the demons who are housekeeping. And I put that in air quotes. They're not housekeeping. They're engaging in the elements of monitoring. What you see on camera with the vacuum, you're looking at pacing. You're looking at, in other words, relevant positioning, audible activity, and light activity. They're literally you're going to look at that camera of a demon vacuuming in a hallway, and then look at the video of the engineer light in the hallway. Look at the video of the fake sun through the window of that hallway. That's group stalking 101. Okay, these are the demons who are, again, after they see the demon in front of them, getting taken down by the feds for stealing a very important candy bar that nobody is allowed to touch. You're not allowed to touch that candy bar. If you steal that candy bar, you're going to federal prison for it. That's how serious it is. But the entity does it. And the demon, after the one, they just saw that one being taken down, and they just right in line, just like the mentally ill demons that they are, mentally ill. They do the same thing that they just saw the other person suffer some consequences for. And they suffer the same exact consequences while they are aware of the fact that they're aware of the fact that they're being documented. So nonetheless, this is what the entity is doing on an ongoing basis. And so while I'm inside of this hotel room, the entity is engaging in what is specifically the criminal system of terrorism. The hotel room at La Quinta Inn, this is a king-size bed in the middle of the hotel room. The entity is engaging in what is ongoing demonic activity that's concentrated inside of this room in order to harass and terrorize me. And that's also based on the fact that the demons who are very hostile to they know that they're being documented. That's also what you know by going to the extent to engage in shaking. That's impossible to naturally occur. And if you're questioning whether this actually happened, look at the videos, the 2 videos that I captured regarding the light activity that you'll see bouncing off of the walls, swiping across, vacillating across the walls. That is the proof regarding what is the ongoing sensational activity that I was subject to while inside of this hotel room today, which is terrorism and harassment and threatening conduct by the entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. So at 10:54 a.m. today, sensational activity that's occurring, and this is upon my return, I believe. Oh, no. This was after that. I documented that on podcast. Never mind. So at 10:54 a.m., it happened again. Sensational activity by the ground is shaking, and the bed that's in the center of the hotel room, and this is while I am in the bed. This is occurring very frequently, again, while I am in operation of my communication devices, and also based on whatever it is that the entity is invading my privacy regarding. For example, if I engage in what you've heard me laughing, again, not because it's actually funny, the ordinary target individual whose plight I personally understand. It is not funny. I understand group stalking is very serious. People have lost their lives. However, I also do find it entertaining. It is funny how pathetic a demonic entity is engaging in, and how they are obsessively and desperately engaging in this criminal system, and they have lost their own game. Yes, I do laugh at that. While the demons are engaging in this conduct and they are hostile to what they are criminally monitoring, they will engage in acts of terrorism such as the vibration, the shaking of the ground, and the shaking of my bed. That is never happening while any demon is walking or running in the hallway, driving on the grounds, on the roads and the highways, in the parking lot outside, opening or closing any of their hotel doors on the 2nd floor, on the 1st floor, or on the 3rd floor. Never. It's an intentional engagement of what is an act of terrorism while the demons are group stalking. By the way, they're mentally ill and they're sex offenders, and they are gratified as that's occurring. And then you're understanding their mental illness because they're going to federal prison. So it's, again, the demon possessed who are mentally ill, exposed and prosecuted and labeled as sex offenders, are playing a stupid game to win a stupid prize, such as federal time. All right. But this is what they do. All right. So the entity is doing that while, again, with the criminal intent to obstruct justice. This terrorism, this sensational activity creation is relevant to terrorism, and it's relevant to, again, the psychological harms that an ordinary target individual is suffering in silence. Okay, they're freaking out. They're like, what is that? What the heck is that? What's that noise? What is this light? Where did that come from? They're not even sure if they saw it. Like, what was that? Where did that come from? The blinds are like, what is that? That's designed to freak somebody out, and it's happening all the time. It happens all the time, everywhere that they're going. All right. And then you're looking at the demons. They look to the left and the right. They looked as they're having the best conversation on the phone that they've ever had in their lives. They're looking like they're so madly in love while they're holding hands and chit chatting, even kissing, sucking face while they're group stalking you. That's the mentally ill psychopathic pattern of conduct. All right. The entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct while they are highly passive aggressive. That's also how you can identify it. But the reason why I say on the one hand, it's passive aggressive because they look to the left and right, wanting to maintain an outward exterior as though they're disinterested and separate and ignorant. I know nothing about what's going on. And knowledge and involvement is not based on where you're looking or what you're doing. And that's, again, the unintelligent entity. They're basing it on what I'm doing. That means that I'm uninterested. That means I'm disconnected. That means I'm not group stalking. Okay, and the entity doesn't even understand the definitions of what it's engaging in. That's what that boils down to. Interest and engagement and inevitable involvement is the presence of that environment, which is, by the way, a scientific phenomenon. You're not ignorant or coincidentally in that specifically maintained environment, which is a pattern of conduct. Oh, you're directly engaging in it. In fact, it's putting a microscope on your mental illness while you look to the left and the right. While you hold a child's hand, they look psychotic. They look like the demons that they are, contrary to what the entity intended for a targeted individual to look like. You're supposed to be running around, pulling your hair out. Oh my gosh, freaking out on everybody, speaking in gibberish. Okay, just losing it. That's what the entity intends. That's not happening. It's never going to happen. They will be exposed as the mentally deranged, sex offending, group stalking demons and terrorists that they actually are. And everything that I stated is supported by facts, information, evidence, because I understand how to prosecute a case. All right, so the entity is engaging in this ongoing sensation. This is terrorism that WYNDHAM is going to compensate me for. And WYNDHAM is an admitted sex offender while I'm subject to that. All right, so at 2:05 p.m., the shaking and ongoing vibration of this bed that's in the middle of this hotel room occurs at the same time that I began uploading my podcast. Substantial documentation, 8 hours of documentation. If you'll recall, my traveling from Woodside Senior Apartments to this venue, La Quinta Inn. Substantial documentation, 8 hours, okay, which the entity is very interested in not being process not being published. But again, it doesn't matter what Satan wants. Satan is going to be subject to a lot of things that it's not going to enjoy. And listen, I reference Satan as an it on purpose. I don't regard Satan as anything credible. I do that with the way I speak. All of it is deliberate. I know exactly what I'm saying and the way I'm saying it. Okay. I don't regard Satan as a formidable adversary. Satan is under my feet. Satan is literally that which is not a formidable adversary, one that is obsessed with me. That's literally why Satan is stalking. Understand that. The crime of stalking, you're literally following me. You want to be where I am. You want to go where I go. You want to do what I do. All right. That's not flattering, though. While a criminal system where they want to take your life, they want to rob you of your identity, defame you. OK, that's not a compliment, but I have it in proper perspective. And I do not refer to Satan or Satan's minions as equal. They're not. OK, while the Lord Jesus Christ loves them, died for them, rose from the grave from them, they're not operating in that. These are demons. These are spirits that are using people that are in every way akin to what are animals. And so if you want to act like a dog, you want to bark like a dog, you'll be referred to as a dog, and dogs are going to be placed where dogs belong. Okay, so the entity's engaged in this pattern of conduct and doing so with impunity as I'm documenting it. And at 2:05 p.m., shaking and vibrating again of this bed that's in the middle of a hotel room, never occurring from any hotel room door closure. But what you will see as I'm capturing this on the document with the timestamps, you'll see the people of the state that are maintaining presence in the hotel rooms all around, walking in and out of their hotel rooms, walking down the hallways on the floors above, not above, I'm on the third floor, walking in the floor, crossing path, in other words, in the hallways on the third floor and also underneath on the second floor. Remember, they're crossing paths with me on the second and first floors as well. They're also crossing path in traffic. The demons, all they're doing is pacing around, including in the sky space. Aerial surveillance does not ever cease to be underway. It's never ceasing to be underway. And that's already established. Okay. But nonetheless, All they're doing is pacing all around the building. They're pacing also while I am in my hotel room, having already established my credibility. And where you see impossible light activity, sensational activity and amplification is also ongoing. And that's what I'm documenting inside of this hotel room. So you're looking at a bunch of demons who are pacing around while I'm documenting the ongoing corporate act that they are engaging in while they're present on camera, working, whatever these demons call themselves doing, or going in and out or past their hotel rooms. They're engaging in terrorism as an entity, as I'm documenting by timestamp. 2:05 p.m. My bed is shaking, violently shaking. All right, that's a supernatural occurrence. And it is, again, the evidence proving that that's ongoing is the fact of the fake sun. That's also supernatural. It's present over the building for 10 plus hours. That's supernatural. So I am not contending anything or claiming anything that's not proven to be capable of happening. And this is, again, my evidence that I have to support. But unfortunately, there are people who are kidnapped who don't even have the ability to articulate to the degree that I am, but they're just claiming it in the best way that they know how to, and people are kidnapping them and defaming them, telling them that, and even the target individual, even the target individual is one that will even concede and say, you know what, maybe I am, maybe I am losing it. Perhaps I do need medication. Why not stay in the ward? It is designed to cause that target individual to question their own sanity. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with them. This is demonic activity that is existing outside of your mind. This is why the Lord Jesus is also making this known. All right. So I just want to make sure that that is clear. But more often than not, the entity is kidnapping you, involuntarily placing you in facilities such as jails, prisons, and mental wards, involuntarily. But there are also the circumstances where the target individual ignorantly, unknowingly is conceding when there's nothing wrong with them. You're not imagining it. It's not happening just in your mind while demons are looking to the left and the right. That's what the demon possessed are there for. That's why it's happening. And that's exactly why they're going to be prosecuted so profusely. Okay? That's despicable. It's nauseating. It makes me sick what the demon possessed are doing. And it's the state that's doing it. It is absolutely evil. All right. But the entity is doing it while I am inside of a hotel room, and this sensational activity is ongoing while the demons remain in relevant position. Whoever's checked into the surrounding rooms, they're going to federal prison. You don't have to run around with like a chicken with your head cut off. Who's staying in this room? You can't even do that. That's exactly, by the way, what the entity is relying on. You don't have to do all that. The system is going to work for you. The system is going to work for you. So the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct and the ongoing amplification, by the way, at 9:05 p.m. right now. The demons who are admitted sex offenders, the people of the state are sex offenders, and that's what the rest of this country and the world needs to know. The people in the state of California are sex offenders. They're group stalkers in California. The government is a sex offender. And that's what you know by virtue of amplified audible activity inside of a single woman's hotel room. All right, so the entity is engaging in what is amplified not amplification, excuse me. This is sensational activity, violent shaking of my bed again at 2:45 p.m. And the bed is shaking at the same time that I use my phone. I'm cutting and pasting the text inside of the description box for my podcast as I'm going through the process of publishing it onto YouTube. And so as I cut and paste this text, at the same time, my bed begins violently shaking. This is a terrorizing occurrence. This is terrorizing. And the demons are also hoping that it'll just distract you. But again, the entity is engaging in that, and it has met what is its demise, and it is entirely delusional as it continuously does so. It's not accomplishing any of its purposes designed for group stalking. The reasons why, in other words, you engage in group stalking and this demonic pattern of conduct, the entity is engaging and is acquiring for itself a very, very severe federal prosecution. That's all that the entity is accomplishing. As I am being very diligent and documenting this terrorism that I'm subject to, that WYNDHAM, a sex offender, is going to be prosecuted for civilly and criminally, amongst many others. All right, so the entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and again at 3:49 p.m., my mattress begins violently shaking as I am publishing video evidence onto the internet, onto YouTube. And it is video evidence which is exposing the fake sin over me at an entirely different venue, and which is directly incriminating La Quinta Inn. by the way. So the demons and all of the entity is interested in all of the evidence because it's a prosecution of all of them and exposing one of the demons, one government body, well, one corrupt department, for example. The entire state is interested in that. And by the way, you're dealing with demons. So while I'm, for example, speaking of the demon Alan D. Wapner, a little demon that's sweeping the staircase is very much interested in what I'm talking about. And Alan D. Wapner isn't paying her. Alan D. Wapner is not going to give any argument on her behalf to protect this demon, this third party that works for Avanath Cap Communities. But that demon on that janitor that works at Woodside Senior Apartments is interested in what's being spoken of, revealing demonic activity. Understand that. The entity, nonetheless, I'm giving you what is relevant with regard to the demons and their cooperative engagement in a demonic pattern of conduct. However, it's under all circumstances audible activity. But again, why would a janitor be interested, in other words, engaging what is stalking with activity creation while I'm talking about documenting a demon that is a government official that has nothing to do with this janitor? Okay. That what they do have in common is that they're of the same condition and they're engaged in the same criminal system. Right. And Satan is very much concerned about the minions who I identify by name. That's what's going on there. Satan is very much interested in what I have to say about his minions. And I have a lot to say regarding what they're engaging in and what they're facilitating. And I will never cease to call them out by name. By name. They're fully engaging in it and facilitating in the system while it's happening under their corrupt leadership. Government body, company name, department name. I will not hesitate because that's exactly what it is. So the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct, and while I am inside of this hotel room and I'm uploading video evidence on the video of the internet showing what is a fake sun, while the entity is engaging in terrorism and psychological torture via helicopter, group stalking and helicopters, the entity that is criminally monitoring, and admittedly so, while you're engaging in what is a demonic occurrence inside of this hotel room. The violent shaking of my bed while I'm in this hotel room. And I happen to be publishing evidence that is directly incriminating WYNDHAM and the people of the state. Again, many of whom I documented this morning by image, on video, and by license plate. All right, so the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct with the intent to obstruct justice, to harass and terrorize and threaten you, while they're as an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring. Again, subject to ongoing terrorism. So this is at 3:49 p.m. Again, at 4:59 p.m., the entity engaging with the violent shaking of my bed as they're monitoring evidence. I am capturing an image on my phone as my bed is, again, violently shaking at 4:59. I am taking a picture of what it is that I'm currently doing online in order to show what evidence is the entity monitoring, what it is that I'm doing on the internet, online, either on my phone or on my laptop. So I tend to take pictures of exactly what the entity is monitoring. And also the entity is doing it for purposes of what is just hostility in general. Okay. Wanting me to just stop what I'm doing. These are the feckless acts of the demons who are group stalkers. The entities engaging with wanting to harass you, wanting you, hoping, frustrated with you, just stop doing it. And it's never going to stop. I'm not going to stop till they're put in the cages that they belong in. And I didn't start it. The entity started it. I'm going to finish it. That's literally my job. So the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct and is doing so with ongoing real-time knowledge of everything that I'm doing on the internet. And how do you know that? Because literally the demonic, the supernatural is occurring. This king-size bed is violently shaking while I'm inside of this hotel room. And there are very real people who are going to federal prison for that, which is no fable. It's not a fable, and you're actually going to federal prison for what is criminal activity. It's harassment and terrorism and criminal threats by an entity engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring in a private space. It's a sex offense. Yes, that's amplification of sex offenders who are monitoring evidence as I speak. This podcast is evidence. So in other words, the entity is engaged in an ongoing admission while it's continuously group stalking its own prosecutor. That's essentially what I'm prosecuting. The entity is being a group stalking its own prosecutor. So the entity is engaged in this pattern of conduct And at 5:11 p.m., again, I'm just putting it because it's doing at 4:59 p.m. I'm uploading videos, a lot of videos onto YouTube. At 5:11 p.m., the same exact violent shaking of my bed. This is the entity. This is WYNDHAM, the state acting with impunity. Ongoing violent shaking of my bed as I'm uploading video evidence. 8 minutes later, at 5:19 p.m., violent shaking of the bed that I'm laying in the middle of this hotel room. While the entity is, again, you'll see on cameras, they're walking in and out of their hotel rooms on the first, second, and third floor. They're walking in and out of their hotel rooms. They're crossing paths with me in the hallways, and they're also group stalking in the parking lot. They're all standing around while you see my timestamps of what I'm documenting. You will see them all around as though nothing's going on here, folks, and they're all engaging in terrorism. And that's how the demon-possessed entity is maliciously targeting. And that, by the way, is the state of California's criminal system. And it will not, and it does not exist solely in the imagination of a targeted individual. And because the entity engages in a pattern of conduct that's supposed to be unprovable, that's supposed to be within the imagination of the alleged targeted individual, you're going to federal prison for that. You're going to federal prison for that. And you are an entirely mentally ill psychopath, by the way. And there are hundreds of them, and you're seeing them on surveillance camera because they're all together, knowingly engaging what are the elements of monitoring. They're all sitting around chit-chatting, walking around, going in inside of and out of their hotel rooms, walking in and out of the building under a fake sun and engineer light. And that's what WYNDHAM is engaging in. So the entity is doing so, again, at 5:19 p.m., violent shaking of my bed. 5:20, again, violent shaking of my bed. And 5:30 p.m., violent shaking of my bed over and over and over again while I'm publishing substantial video. Excuse me, not publishing, I'm uploading it. They are, much of it is going to be published, but it's all uploaded to YouTube, which, again, the entity is monitoring. Federal stalking, very highly criminal conduct. The entity is doing it openly. And those that will come after California will understand. They will understand what you shall not engage in absent very severe punishment. All right. Absent a very, very intense prosecution. The rest of the world's going to witness what took California too long to understand, and they learned too late. All right. It is currently, by the way, 9:13 p.m. I want to document while I'm on here what is federal stalking by Tracy Banks. Sending me a text message. You heard her, and I also narrated what I was subject to, which includes criminal defamation. And so this is my life. This is what I'm subject to, and I don't have any secrets. So I'm just going to go ahead and share. This is a text message that she's sending while I am in the midst of uploading, or excuse me, not uploading, but capturing this podcast. And as I've stated, federal stalking includes the operation of your phone. So the entity is engaged in criminal surveillance as they send you a text message, as they call you, leave a voicemail, anything. It's the operation of your phone that is the purpose. And they also, again, as an aside, they really just want you to stop talking. Okay, the entity just wants to be a distraction, just stop saying what you're saying. And that's a criminal act of obstruction of justice. Nonetheless, it's federal stalking. And Tracy Banks, who you heard, and who I have documented ongoing years of criminal defamation. This is the person that's engaged in federal stalking, Title 18, while, again, she represents the entity, and all the entity is aware of everything that I'm speaking, which you know that because the amplification that you're hearing. All right, that's how you know that the entity is group stalking, because of the amplified traffic, because of the ongoing engineered light that you saw on video. That evidence will never be erased. You already know that they're all group stalking me. You already know that, okay? And it's something that is existing with regard to evidence, tangible evidence that exists on its own, and I don't have to say a word. It speaks for itself. That is where an entity is engaging in what is calling me on my phone as I am capturing podcasts, which is evidence. Again, this is a desperate act by the same entity that is criminally defaming me. This is a very toxic individual. This is a demon engaging in what is defaming me publicly because she's group stalking me. So it's automatically published. All right. But again, this is not affecting me emotionally or anything. I'm prosecuting it. But understand, with regard to dealing with the entity that you know personally, this is a very toxic person. This is a very toxic behavior, unhealthy. In other words, that's what I mean by that heavily used. Toxic is used very heavily. I mean, it's very unhealthy. And it's something that is literally illogical. If you're making such statements regarding how disturbed you believe that I am, why is it that you are still bothering me? I have not called this third party. She is calling to engage in criminal conduct. She is literally monitoring and group stalking with the state with the intent to obstruct justice, as she calls my phone, and she leaves a voicemail. continuously soliciting to meet with me somewhere, which is a threat to my life as I am in her presence. Again, I am documenting, I am prosecuting. The fact that I am confronting the entity does not mean that I am subject to any less of a threat, does not mean that I am entitled to any less amount of justice. Okay, but that's a threat as my own. As I believe that the word mother, the term mother, is a term of art. Excuse me, but she is literally the person that gave birth to me, and that's why it is such a threat to my life as I'm in her presence, and that needs to be appreciated. She's literally group stalking. This is the demon that the state will rely on, would prefer to speak in order to substantiate some sort of criminal act that the entity has inflicted upon me, such as taking my life or taking my freedom. This is the demon that would have all lights, camera action on her and would love it. And that's never going to happen. But she's engaged in multiple acts of kidnapping with the state. She's going to federal prison for it. But I want to be clear. She's calling, leaving a voicemail at 8:19 p.m. That's federal stalking. All right. Recall the documentation when I am at Alvarado Gardens and I am inside of my, my apartment, and the entity, I'm showing you the impossible light activity, the multiple shadows that are on my ceiling, while the fake sun is outside of my bedroom window, and then recall the evidence of the fake sun outside of this window here at La Quinta Inn, by the way. But continue, I'll digress, as I'm showing you the impossible light that's on my ceiling, the fake sun that's outside of my bedroom window in Los Angeles, California, at Alvarado Gardens Apartments, the same location where it's rising in alignment to my physical person, my living room window, which I documented diligently day in and day out. And then you're mindful of the light source that you saw outside of this window over my head at this venue of La Quinta Inn. And nevertheless, the entity is maintaining the specific environment, and doing so while I would document the specific environment inside of my bedroom. And for example, as I'm speaking about something very damning, such as the the act of obstruction of justice by speaker companies, threatening my employment while I'm enforcing, number one, my right to not be subject to federal group stalking and monitoring, and freedom of speech, which I maintain while I'm on the job. The Los Angeles Police Department were so heavily engaged in group stalking and helicopter, I literally had enough evidence to document it at work, because they were group stalking me at work. So if I'm recording the heavy harassment by helicopters, why are you using that as some sort of basis to accuse me of recording the residents, is what they came with? When I'm not even speaking to the residents, I'm not holding my camera. I've already documented all that. But nonetheless, that's the entity that knows that it's being documented. That's the entity that thought it could bully me out of enforcing my rights. Understand what the ordinary target individual is faced with. And they're going to federal prison for that. But nonetheless, while I'm documenting, while I'm reminding you of this, while I'm showing you the pattern of conduct that the entity is engaged in, and then I'm reminding you about what speaker companies did. Somebody would send a text message to my phone because they want me to shut up. They want me to stop talking. It's analogous to that, what Tracy Banks is doing, okay? Anyway, the entity is engaged in a pattern of conduct. It's 9:19 p.m. It's Friday, October 11, 2024. And the entity has been engaged in prolonged harassment while I am remaining inside of this hotel room and uploading evidence regarding the pattern of conduct that I remain subject to. Alrighty, and this is indeed P.O.C. Hi, this is Erica. I am. Can I ask who I'm speaking with?
Stephanie?
Hi, Stephanie. I'm calling because I actually had a problem earlier. It's kind of a big problem. It's the noise level, and the reason why I didn't say anything is because I'm kind of perplexed as to how it would happen. But nonetheless, I'm inside of my hotel room, and I was even noting it. I had a lot of conduct that was resulting in my bed shaking while I was laying in my bed this afternoon, and it kept happening over and over and over again. And I don't even know if somebody on the second floor would be able to, like, even if they were like hitting the ceiling, that it would result in my shaking my bed. Do you know of anything happening with the building? Like, my hotel stay is very it's being disrupted a lot while I'm particularly trying to relax in my bed, and particularly during the 5 p.m. hour. Over and over and over again, my bed was violently shaking while I was laying in it.
Well, around 5 p.m. today, housekeeping was leaving, and they were putting in their carts. I'm not sure if rolling the cart through the hallway, because there's a lot of things on it that are heavy, may have shaken the floor. But regarding any like loud noises coming from that floor, or any like big movements or thuds, I haven't received any other complaint. Especially the neighboring rooms next to you, they have not mentioned anything regarding a sound or of movement in the room. I do apologize if when housekeeping is leaving, they are a bit loud because they're putting away everything. I'm not sure if that's the ruckus that was heard around 5 p.m.
Well, it's not just the ruckus. Oh, that's a whole other thing. Actually, with regard to ruckus, there was somebody beating on the wall, and it had to have been the person in room 310, because it wasn't it couldn't have, it was the wall that was on the in the opposite the door, so in the depths of the room, the same wall where the window is, and so that's a wall shared by room 310. And I don't know why that person would be hitting on the wall, but somebody was beating on the wall earlier also. And regarding, that's the ruckus, but with regard to the mattress shaking, the bed itself, and this is a king size bed, I have no idea what would cause that, but it's very disconcerting, and it's something it's kind of frightening, and I wanted to let you know about that. It kept happening specifically during the 4 to 5 p.m. hour. It was at 4:59, at 5:11, at 5:19, at 5:20, and at 5:30 p.m.
And you said they were shaking?
My bed, while I was literally laying in it, my bed kept shaking. But I was looking at the television. There was nothing reporting of any earthquakes, because I don't know that a housekeeper pushing a cart in the hallway is going to cause some sort of violent shaking of my bed. And I don't know that somebody can...
I only suggested the cart because it does vibrate a little bit on the floors, but it wouldn't cause the whole bed to shake.
Exactly,
like
yeah.
Earthquake.
Yeah.
That does sound very concerning. I don't know what would cause your bed to move like that. This is a first for me. I will go ahead and leave a note for my next shift for the manager in the morning. And then regarding the noise from the neighboring room, the noise was coming from today?
Yeah, that was today, and that would have been room 310, based on, because it wasn't coming from the opposite side of the room. It was coming from like the bed that I'm in. It's adjacent to the wall that's shared with, I believe that's room 310. When I'm outside of the door, I'm facing the front door. It's to my left. I believe that's room 310.
Okay, so
that was at 7:48 p.m.
Okay, yes. So
like someone's beating on the door.
That time. So the thuds were probably them adjusting their luggage. But if they're causing a noise enough for you to not get rest, just let me know and I can call a noise complaint. But for right now, it does sound like at the time of check-in, they were being loud, but they had just checked in, so I'm pretty sure they're just settling their stuff down.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate your listening to me. But you said your name is Stephanie, right?
Yes, my name is Stephanie.
Thank you, Stephanie. And what is your manager's name?
My front desk manager, her name is Renee. I believe she'll be in here tomorrow. If not, you can speak to Cindy, and she can go ahead and see if she can contact the owner.
Right, I'm familiar with Cindy. I didn't meet Cindy. Is Cindy a manager?
No, Cindy's just another front desk like me.
Oh, okay. Well, everybody matters, not just the front desk. Okay, thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate your help.
Okay, no problem. And I do apologize again. But if you have any other pressing concerns, or if there's more noise later on where you can't get rest, just let us know, and then we'll go up and investigate the problem.
All right. Thank you. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Bye. So I need you to understand how the pattern of conduct is that which is inexplicable. All right. No housekeeper pushing anything. I don't care how heavy it is. It's not causing from a great distance at all. she wouldn't even be able to push it if it was that heavy, causing an earthquake. That's preposterous, okay? The entity is engaging in what is a demonic pattern of conduct that is on its face inexplicable, and you're supposed to sound like a Looney Tune even as you utter it. You can't make me sound crazy. I'm going to show that you are crazy as a group stalker, okay? I'm documenting Wyndham. Wyndham is going to be prosecuted for terrorism, and the terrorism via directed light, the terrorism by the specific environment, and this is where terrorism inside of this hotel room is ongoing. And by the way, that is in conformity to a long documented pattern of conduct. Okay, so the entity is, by the way, that's why I want you to hear that exchange, because this is an admission. The bed shaking, yeah, that is terrorizing. How do you? I'm not using these signal words, these hot words to her, but I want you to explain that to me. Okay, why is the bed shaking? This is criminal conduct that Stephanie's going to federal prison. I just want you to know that. Renee's going to federal prison, and so is Cindy. The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct, and it is designed to not only psychologically harm that targeted individual, it scares, excuse my French, it scares the crap out of you. How is a king-size bed shaking? What is that? Why is this happening? And then on top of that, the demons who are going to federal prison for it, the entity is continuously doing so. So as I documented, so the terrorism continues. And it's the same with the impossible light activity, and it's the same with the amplified audible activity. This is a terrorizing environment. Oh, you shall not make a buck while you're acting on trying to take my life and kidnap me, and you utterly fail. It's an abysmal fail with trying to make me look crazy while you are a demon-possessed group stalker. This is putting everything in its proper place. Nothing about the pattern of conduct bears any reflection on the mind state of that targeted individual, contrary to what the malicious entity intends. And the only way the entity can do that is because you have which is complicit. You have a bunch of gang members who are together agreeing, oh, that person is crazy. That's all they're doing. Groupthink, group conduct. They're gang members lying together, kidnapping together. That's it. That's all they're doing. It's gang conduct. None of it is based on facts. So this is, again, my objective. My goal is to balance this out, put everything in a proper perspective. Just because a demon, first of all, a third party, even a corrupt government, just because they say it does not make it so. And that's what group stalking is based on. The government is no longer in a position to be in a position where you are assumed to be legitimate. And that's unfortunate. That's not a good thing. That's a sad reality. You can't trust what the government is saying anymore because of the criminal system that the entity is engaging in. And federal group stalking and monitoring the specific environment, the pattern of conduct that the government is engaging in directly, it creates an irrebuttable presumption of public corruption. Therefore, just because the state said it, that is suspect. That doesn't mean anything. So what? It's going to be investigated. Oh, they said that they're in jail or they're in the facility because they have XYZ mental illness or diagnosis, or they committed this crime. That's going to be investigated because the state is a liar. The state has been established and been shown to be a liar, a malicious one. And the state are the people. They just engage in gang conduct. And so, okay, I take it outside of me. I take myself out of the equation, outside of the evidence of the P.O.C. Somebody claiming, oh my gosh, my bed is shaking and it is freaking me out. Somebody that they don't know how to conduct themselves. They don't know how to speak. I mean, and I understand that. Okay, I'm not downing the ordinary target individual whatsoever. I'm empathizing with this person. I'm sympathizing. I'm literally in their shoes. And somebody else is reasonably coming apart at the seams where they are being targeted like this. It's inhumane. And it is, by the way, not a just basis to defame that person. They're not crazy. It's actually happening. And the gang members are using that demonic environment to defame that person. It makes me furious. That's why you're going to federal prison. This is what the government is doing. And you can hear the admission. You can hear it in her voice. How do you explain the bed shaking? I don't have to make up anything. I don't have time for that. This is the entity's pattern of conduct. How is the sun remaining over your hotel building for 11 hours? Explain that. This is the P.O.C. It's currently 9:31 p.m. And I do remain at third-party facilitating venue 12000 Mariposa Road, where I'm subject to 24-hour surveillance, and it is a violent sex offense. It's referred to as the perpetual sex offense that a public entity is engaging in concert with the people of the state. All right, and again, it's 9:31 p.m., and this is P.O.C.